Welcome, everybody, to the CrossFire podcast. It is Friday night. I know that a lot of people getting home from work just want to sit down and game, but we know that CrossFire kicks off the weekend, and I, for one, I've got to be honest with you guys, I am super excited. Tonight's one of those nights where not only do you have a great list of topics, and you always get the chance to put the best panel together, but we have a special guest on the show tonight, and honestly, I'm a big fan, and I can't wait to hear his input on tonight's discussions. I also want to take a second here and thank every single person that's here in the chat. Guys, please take a minute to retweet it out, let people know we're live. And also, I'd like to take a second to let everybody know that right above the description button is that little join button to become a Mooch Maniac and a member of the channel, and you will not be forgotten. And with that being said, I do want to appreciate and call out each of the Mooch Maniacs. We've got Longshot 316, JudaZuk, Sir X-Man, Michael Chirichello, Masshole 1977, JB Kash, Rumple Foreskin, now known as Hollow Point 5557, because that third 5 had to be in there, Rumple, Mass Murders, Midway7 Monster. Then we've got our Mooch Major Maniacs, that's Wilmy Hood and Zero Life, and of course, the great VIP Mooch Maniacs with Biggie 2316 and Doggy Dog 420. I can't thank you folks enough. It means the world to me that you guys support and sponsor the channel, and you'll never be forgotten, and you'll be mentioned every week out loud. You're a part of the show. That being said, let me get into our panel here and get into our topics, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting any longer. I've got the one, the only, one of the original, if not the original, usual suspect, Xbot448. Xbot, how you doing tonight?
What's going on, brother? What is going on, everybody in the chat? We are kicking off the weekend the way we do every week with Crossfire. Yo, Mooch, I gotta say, yes, man, I know it's getting harder and harder to play the games I have right now. I just wish it was March 20th.
I feel your pain.
And Doom Eternal was out. I can't wait, bro. I can't wait.
That game's going to be absolutely marvelous. I beat the first one, and I actually was going to go back and beat it again. Once they announced Doom Eternal coming out, I was like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to go ahead and wait, because it's already been rumored that Doom Eternal is going to be almost, well, I wouldn't say 2x, but it's much, much more in-depth than even the first one, and the first one was a handful.
I got Doom in my pins right now, the 2016 Doom, and whenever I pull up my pins, I look at it, and I'm like, nah, man, I need the super shotgun with the grappling hook, man.
Yes. Don't get me that excited. It's not even February. Hold on. Shout out real quick to Doggy Dog 420. He wants to let everybody know the super chat's working. Give it a try. You'll love it. Thank you, Doggy Dog. I appreciate that super chat. Then I've got my buddy here, Enrique, whose blood alcohol is 0.0, because he's here for you folks. Woo! Enrique, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Woo! I'm doing great. Yes, I did not go to happy hour, much to the disappointment of some of the folks in the live chat, but I'm here, and I'm excited. Great guest, great topic tonight.
Yes.
And looking forward to talking video games.
Thank you, Enrique. I appreciate that. And then I've got my buddy here who left work, literally beelined it to the show, didn't even stop to eat. Gaming Forte, love having your expertise on the show tonight. How are you tonight?
I'm good, man. So we got a judge that's going to oversee these procedures in Dread. We got a recovering drunk in Enrique. We got a fraud in Xbot. We probably got the best gaming news YouTuber that you're going to talk about.
Agreed.
Next. I will give that man that honor on that one, because I literally love his content. And then we got the biggest mouth on YouTube, my man Mooch. This is amazing. I love being around you guys. That's why I raced home from work, because I can't miss an episode of Crossfire. So
hey, Forte, why don't you do us a favor and do that glorious Battletoads call?
No, why would I take your shot? That's
you did on Brap, man. Come
sir,
on.
That's because you weren't there. I'm not going to take the one thing you have in Crossfire history away from you, sir. I'm not going to take that away from you here. Now, if you're not on Crossfire that day because you're sick or something, I'll do it then. But
then all my Xbot fanatics in the chat will realize like what a horrible job.
Xbot, you're the only person in entertainment history to give away, or at least offer to give away, his calling card. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I got more in my pocket, man. I'm not a one-trick pony.
That is true. That is true. You have been here for a while. You do know that. And then I've got my buddy here,
a wonderful woman, so you're good.
I've got Dreadpool here from Gaming Beyond the Box. Dreadpool, outstanding to have you back here. I've actually truly enjoyed having you on the show in the past few weeks, and your insight is marvelous. Buddy, welcome back. How are you tonight?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I just can't wait for tonight's topics that you got. This is awesome, and to actually be on here with Spawnwave too. That's it's an honor.
I know.
Honestly,
I should have dressed up.
I completely agree. Well, that's fine. You can tell everybody you're wearing a tuxedo.
Put pants on, Forte.
Yes,
I said I should have dressed up. I mean, you know, come on now.
And our special guest tonight, honestly, truly does mean a lot. And it's funny because that's how great and interconnected the YouTube community, the Twitter community, and just the gaming community overall. I was very good friend, still very good friends with Jay Hooft, who's an outstanding game reviewer. Please do check out at Jay Hooft as well. Jay actually did a show with me on Saturdays, and we had a blast doing it. And I got a chance to hang out with Spawn. And I've been talking to Spawn ever since, here and there in the DMs, and we just kind of bullshit about games and have a great time. You guys know him as Spawn Wave. Spawn, welcome to the show, buddy, and I can't even stress how much of an honor it is to have you on the show. Outstanding work you do on YouTube. How are you? And welcome, finally.
Oh, thank you. I am good. I'm hoping February is a bit more interesting for games,
Yes.
but yeah, it's good. It's good to be here. Excited to talk about some of the topics we got here.
I appreciate that, Spawn. Thank you. And, of course, Wrath of the Empire, who does another Super Chat, says, oh, my God, Super Chat is working much better than Stadia. Let's leave Stadia alone. I've got a whole segment for Spawn on this one, and I know the rest of the panel can't wait to jump in on it. All right, let's get to the first and foremost. Spawn, you know, you're last in the introductions, but you're going to be first when it comes to topics. This is really your wheelhouse. And like I said, you know, I'm also a fan of your channel. A lot of the things you cover, you're not just Nintendo Switch. You're not. But it is something that you cover pretty thoroughly. This was something that actually we were talking about before the show. We were saying, oh, maybe I'll trade in my Switch for the Animal Crossings edition, etc., this and that. But the thing that the Mooch was waiting for was I truly thought we were going to get our Switch Pro come end of this year. And don't get me wrong, with all the other consoles coming out, in one way, my wallet took a sigh of relief, okay? But I was looking forward to taking my original Switch that I got day one and upgrading it to the Pro edition at the end of this year. Spawn, what are you hearing now? And the rumor, of course, coming right from the top, the CEO of Nintendo, that it's not happening. Is this something that you think was just bound to happen, that we weren't going to get it? You think it's a 2021 shot? How did this all kind of come about?
I don't think we're gonna see a Switch Pro this Christmas, this holiday. But you got to remember the Switch also follows a different release schedule from what the other systems do. The normal systems, I guess, even Nintendo's old systems were November releases. This technically turns its birthday is in March, right? So every March is technically 1 year for the Switch, not like November. So it looks like, just based on what we're seeing here, because this wasn't part of a Q&A thing where they were asked about it. They weren't like asked, oh, is there going to be a Switch Pro or a new Switch, I guess you could say, this holiday. They had a prepared statement for it before the Q&A. And that was a very, I would say, well thought out response. Like, they chose basically down to each word to make sure that they didn't misrepresent what they were trying to say or get around it. Like last year, they got around the Switch Lite announcement by saying we won't announce hardware at E3, and then they announced it after E3, so that way they could announce it closer to release and not hurt any sales for the current Switch, the hybrid one. Okay. Although the Switch Lite's a little different. Like, if you want a hybrid system, you're not buying that Switch Lite. That is like a pure handheld. Whereas a Switch Pro would definitely, I think anyway, cannibalize some of the possible sales of the current Switch. Even if it's 400, let's say, it's still, some people like yourself, Mooch, says, I want to wait for that Switch Pro.
Absolutely.
They would wait. But in this instance, I don't think 2020 is when that Pro is going to happen. And I just think at this point, you go with what the president has said to investors, and you kind of take it as that. But I do also think that if they do a Switch Pro, it doesn't have to show up in a November holiday. People get really, really married to the idea of a holiday release for anything now, whereas they would release it. Let's say they released it in March or April. They could get away with that if they wanted to. I mean, we see some crazy stuff happen now, like the PS5 with its logo and it breaks Instagram records, or I'm sure when Microsoft put that Series X just showing the box, that was the biggest announcement at that Game Awards. Was that?
Oh yeah.
Well, Spawn, right? You made a good point, and not to interrupt you, I want you to carry on, but it was Nintendo that broke the mold, wasn't it? I mean, they came out with their console. I believe even the Wii U was that a November release? I think that was in November. But the Switch was in March, right? And so, like, I'm just saying, like, they've had games coming out throughout the year. They don't care what month it really is. And I tip my cap to them. You have a successful channel. Is there any time, if you're on the I call you to the stand, Spawn, is there ever a time where people are not interested in a new game coming out?
No, I mean, usually people are pretty. I think we had what just came out recently, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and that wasn't as interesting to people. I had more interest myself in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot that I'm still playing right now, as opposed to that. Even though I even missed that on the Wii U, although I didn't really play the Wii U as much, just because they had less releases and the overall release schedule for that system was so spotty. But the Switch is just a very popular system right now. So hearing about a Switch Pro, I think, was very interesting to, well, most of us, especially the people online. Like if you're really plugged in, the idea of a more powerful Switch, because that's generally the complaint, right? With the Switch is that you'll get a game and it's convenient, but you take a hit on things like resolution or frame rate or any of that. It's like, wouldn't it be great if we could have like the best of both worlds? You have, even if it's like 1080p and then like a solid, we'll say 30 to 60 frames, that's still better than at times what we get with the Switch. So I get why a Pro is so enticing to a lot of people. But I think at this point, Nintendo, what they said in their briefing after going through it, it was translated by multiple people at this point. They just want to work on their install size. That's how they're going to kind of combat everything that's about to happen this holiday. Is those systems are restarting. We have we'll say, what are they, 50, 52 now? We'll say they're closer. We'll say on the other side of 70 million by then, most likely, believe it or not.
They sure will be.
At that point, I don't know why you introduce a Pro to then split the user base.
Well, they're gonna come out with the Pro in 2021. Like I read what they stated, and they're like nothing for 2020. They're not, just blatantly saying that there's no Pro out there. And to be honest with you, it makes sense, because what they did with the Switch, which I call the world's most powerful handheld, with them coming out in March and not doing that traditional kind of like holiday thing. Now you're thinking this year, people were talking about a Pro might come out, but they don't want to get lost in that shuffle of, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo coming out with hardware at the same time. They already set themselves apart. So why not have the release of your new hardware be at a different time? They already showed that with the Switch, it was successful coming out, pretty much the beginning of the year for its launch year. And why not continue to do that? It makes sense for them, man.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. But like, what if they have other plans for 2020 outside of just hardware? Like, what if they have ideas for, like, let's say they work together with Microsoft and bring xCloud to the Switch.
Ooh, and I think there are a couple topics moving down the road.
Well, we can, listen, the Switch this Switch category kind of bleeds into all of that, to be honest with you. I mean, one of the things that we talked about real quick, and I'll go back about 2 minutes when Spawn said roughly when the Pro would be estimated to come out, maybe we'll go ahead and guesstimate around 72, 73 million units, and I believe Gaming Forte backed that up. And just so everybody knows here, Spawn included, Gaming Forte, he runs a GameStop. He knows, he's got his ear to the ground. And my thing about this is that this is a bit alarming, because when it comes down to it, I was a little shocked that mid-generation, because the Wii U basically came out in 2012, if you will. So when that came out, it was about a year before the newer this generation began, and now you had Nintendo completely went back to the drawing board. They scrapped everything. Remember this, and nobody knows this better than this panel. I know you guys know this. The whole idea of this being a portable unit that docked was kind of a laughingstock at first. The media was not having it. Right? What is this absurd thing? What could this possibly? Here goes Nintendo thinking outside the box again, and that's only going to think them right out of business. Ended up jackpot. But here we are, mid-generation, and they've surpassed the Xbox One in sales. That's unbelievable.
It's not hard to do, Mooch.
Well, did you say it's not hard to do?
Well, dude,
hold on. 52 million.
Well,
52 million
it's also tracking above the PS4 in terms of pacing.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, don't say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I know it's.
Don't say that.
I mean, to me, they're the market. I'm joking, by the way, when I said that.
No, I hear
No,
you.
to me, Nintendo is the market leader right now. I mean, they like Spawnwave just said. I mean, they've been tracking, at a higher clip than PlayStation 4. And if you look at like NPD, we talked to like Matt when we had Matt on Brap about like first party and the attach rate. Nintendo is just. I mean, I don't. They are doing things that no one else is doing right now in terms of their first party. If you look at NPD, their first party usually charts like top 5, top 10. And why that's important is because it's not even it only includes it
doesn't include digital.
Yeah, thank you. It doesn't include digital sales. It's only physical sales. So that's where PlayStation 4 and Xbox are counting both digital and physical. So that within itself is very impressive. And I think maybe Spawnwave said this, that maybe potentially a Pro would cannibalize Switch sales. And I don't see Nintendo cannibalizing Switch sales. I mean, this thing is hot. I think like before he went live, Forte said he's trading in his Switch to get the Animal Crossing.
The Animal Crossing.
And that's like Nintendo. I mean, that's kind of like, I think they could do something like that with another game and do like a custom Switch, and boom, you'll see another like spike in Switch sales. So I don't see them doing anything. I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not privy to the decisions that are made at Nintendo, but I see them writing this out for another 2 years at least before maybe we see new hardware.
2021, man. And I think, oh, my bad, but
no, you're fine.
Quick, I think it was a great idea to let the platform breathe for a year and kind of like develop, even more active users. Spawn, I love what you said about like xCloud as well, which could definitely be a thing, down the road. So with Sony as well, maybe down the road with PlayStation Now as well. They got to kind of catch up on the whole streaming situation, even though they did it first. When it comes to quality, I think xCloud and Stadia so far.
Xbox. Let me ask this though: how realistic is this? We heard this with Xbox. Okay, Xbox doesn't want. They want to go third party. They don't even want to do hardware maybe anymore in the future after these next series come out. They're going to go on the Switch. They're going to be on PlayStation now. I mean, Spawn. I'll start with you and Dreadpool. Please do chime in as well. But Spawn. I mean, we've been hearing these rumors for well over a year now. I mean, is there anything you're hearing coming down the pipe that Nintendo would even be remotely interested in letting Game Pass on their system?
Yeah, I think they would be open to it.
I mean, I agree, but we haven't heard any kind of foot traffic on that. Usually something would kind of leak, I would think.
He's asking for a little tidbit here. Have you heard something, man?
You already got Xbox Live login on that dang system, so I mean you really don't need to hear anything. Once they allow you to log into a different server on your system, all it is pretty much saying at a point, how much longer is it going to take before we put actual services on the system?
Well, it won't even necessarily just be services. Microsoft actually likes the Switch seemingly quite a bit right now.
With all the games they're putting over there.
Yes, the games are actually being very successful for Microsoft. In Japan, Microsoft has historically struggled, but they were able to get their first published million-unit seller fairly recently, actually, in Japan on this, and it was on the Switch, and it was Minecraft.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes. Microsoft really, like, I think people still see the companies as heavily competing with each other. Microsoft really likes Nintendo right now. They're both benefiting quite a bit. Microsoft's getting a lot of money out of the software sales. Nintendo's getting a game like Minecraft that sells well everywhere. Because I mean, you got to keep in mind, Microsoft needs to get that money back for the $2.5 billion they spent on Mojang and Minecraft, so that's everywhere.
I think they got that back already. Now they're just releasing their pockets now, brother.
Oh yeah. So yes, it's not just going to be like. It seems like it's not just going to be Ori, is what I'll say, or anything like that, or Cuphead. There's a lot of word about bigger franchises coming over too.
Oh, absolutely.
So. I know Halo's been thrown around. I think that would be something crazy to see done, but I'd have to see that one.
Maybe not the newest one.
I gotta give
no.
Quick two shout outs here. Sir X-Man says, guys, don't forget Nintendo's still making hand over fist on the DS. That's true. But Rain makes a good point here. And, and Spawn, it's not to get into the console wars by no means, but realistically speaking, if anybody, and I understand that they're all trying to kind of do business together, but when you come to a table, whether we're talking about a sports team and there's a trade, or we're talking about video games and it's about cross-platform, Rain asks a good question in the chat. He says, what does Xbox get out of all this? Because if everything's going from Xbox to the Switch, I shouldn't say Xbox. Xbox is making money. What are Xbox fans that are not picking up? There are people that don't own the Switch that are hardcore Xbox or hardcore PlayStation. What are those fans getting in return? They don't seem to be getting any of Nintendo's beloved franchises over onto their platform of choice.
Does it really matter at this point?
Well, I mean, I don't. Here's the thing, though. You know what, though? It's a good question, Forte, but I think it kind of does.
Well, because the way I look at it is, Xbox is looking at these games that are coming out on Switch have already came out on Xbox, so it's just like the whole Horizon Zero Dawn thing going to PC. After so long, a game has already ran its course on your system. If you want to put it somewhere else to make extra dollars on that game or revenue, I mean, that's a feasible and very straightforward thing you can do, because you're actually opening up an extra revenue stream on a different system. And like we said, it's all about software. They make pennies on the dollar for the hardware. The software is where you get the 30 to 40% revenue cut. And that's where they're getting all the benefits of all those sales. Like Spawn would say, having Minecraft over there being the first million unit seller in Japan is huge. I didn't know that. That's huge to say that you sold 1 million copies of Minecraft in a territory that you normally don't do well in. And guess what? The Switch helped them do that. The Xbox didn't do that because the Xbox itself can't even sell 500,000 systems over there. Yeah. So that's where the benefit comes from. And it always goes back to the thing that I always tell people when I talk to them. Why should we be upset if a company decides to make more money off of a product that they made? Because all that money is getting filtered back into Xbox anyway.
Make more games, brother.
To make better and more games for us to, enjoy.
Yes, sir.
That's how, think about it. That's how Ninja Theory was able to probably turn Hellblade around faster, outside of being, brought up by
Microsoft. Yeah.
Other than being bought by Microsoft, the money that they got for selling it on the PS4 helped them be able to fast track, Hellblade 2. And now that it's on the Switch and selling there, it gives them more revenue. So that's how we can get a Hellblade 2 faster, probably. And all of these others, like the other games like Project Mara that they're working on and Bleeding Edge, that's funding all of that stuff. Why? Because it's selling in other places.
Forte, you made a great pitch, and I think Microsoft's got some sort of a letter to hire you coming in the mail. But I got to be honest with you, though. Here's the thing. There is something where you start to say after a while, if Switch is going to start to obtain, and Spawn, by no means am I holding you to this, but we all have heard things. And what you hear, I take it more than with a grain of salt. I believe there are things coming down the pipeline from Xbox's main franchises going to the Switch. But if it's on the Switch and you can start to play on your phone, you can start to play here and there. Are we looking down the tunnel and seeing a very, very faint light right now of where Microsoft really does want to go third party, and they just want to leave this platform space?
Hold on, real quick, just like
because think about it. Well, Xbox, I know you don't like that conversation, but it does.
Right quick. If they have Game Pass and xCloud on the Switch,
yes,
you're still signing into the Xbox platform. No matter what. So Xbox is still getting any of the business numbers that they need, from that whole thing right there. None of the games are. I don't see like the new Halo being run natively on the Switch or something like that. I don't
not
see
this
anything
Switch
like that. I don't see anything like that happening. All right. If it does happen, then I'll bring up those questions and stuff. But until then, a subscription service being on multiple devices, the money still goes back to the owner of or the creator of the subscription service.
Right.
And it's still, when you talk about like Minecraft selling 1 million in Japan, which Spawnwave, thank you for that. I didn't even know that either. There's a mind share there now. You know what I'm saying? There's people that, who are really into Minecraft who might start thinking, well, what about these other games that they came out with?
Well,
you know what I'm saying on their platform.
And that's the question though. And this is a question I'm going to ask you guys. what do you look at Microsoft or Xbox in general as? Do you look at them as an ecosystem, or do you look at it as a platform?
Dude, they already said people have already come out and stated that they're talking more ecosystems when the PS5 and the Series X come out.
I agree. Xbox Spawn, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
They pretty much have to be an ecosystem, to be honest, within Microsoft, because gaming is, if you really look at Microsoft's overall picture, gaming is not that big for them. It's roughly 9 to 10%, I think, of their entire company is gaming, whereas if you look at Nintendo, it's over 90% gaming for their company.
PlayStation's 26% for Sony.
Yeah, so there was a point in time where it looked pretty bad for Microsoft. I feel like it was around the time the Xbox One came out and it was struggling, where there was legitimate concern with investors that they did not want the Xbox One around, right? And what they've done this generation so far has really, really helped them within the company to turn it around and make it more about services than just flat out hardware. Now, of course, they're still going to have the most. I'll tell you now, they're going to have the most powerful system with the Series X going next generation. So they're still going to have the hardware if you're a big enthusiast when it comes to visuals and all of that. The PS5 is still going to look good too, but from what's being really passed around, it does look like the Series X is going to be the more powerful of the systems.
I agree.
And that's where they're going to be pushing it, because they're using Surface as a promo for Windows. This is your quality product from us. They don't have to do that. They didn't have to make Surface Pro or any of that. And that's same thing what they're going to do with the Xbox. They're going to be able to have a console that will promote their product, their software, in the best light possible, but yet you can still reach out with xCloud or the other games that you have that are going to the other consoles. So it's just another means to get your product out to more people, available to more people. But if you wanted the best place that they want to showcase it, they're providing you the console that you're going to be able to showcase.
Dreadpool, I am so glad you're on this show, because you actually have your finger on the pulse of Microsoft. That's exactly what they think, man.
He did, but Dread kind of proved the point. Next part, that's what I'm trying to say. We have to step away from our favorite this and our favorite that. And Spawn said it to a certain degree. Microsoft had to do this, okay? And this is what I've been trying to tell people.
Investors. Yeah,
they need the 52 million, soon to be 70 some odd million Switch users. They need Game Pass on Switch. That's why when Spawn says Microsoft's actually quite fancy to Nintendo, do you know why? They're not enjoying their games and the whole Switch miss thing that they were proclaiming a year ago. It's because they need Nintendo, because
Mooch.
Right.
And, back in the 360 days, they were actually looking at making a X-Boy, a handheld game console that was going to compete with, or at least go along with the 360. They were trying to figure out if they're going to do that. They opted not to, and that was one thing that they were looking at, was to compete with Game Boy and the PS Vita and all the handheld gamings. So for that to happen, they'd have to put more investment into something else. So they're going to be dividing their investment up. They decided not to. This way, and here we are into the future. Obviously, they're still looking at what they could have done and decided not to. But now we have the opportunity to still do that without putting the investment out there to produce another handheld that's going to compete with Nintendo.
Well, check this out. And here's something else that nobody's really said when it comes to Microsoft with Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. I think it's widely been put out there when it comes to the Switch. It's a lot of people's preferred second console, which is why, it's selling on. There's people with PS4s out there who get a Switch as well. If not the Switch, definitely the Switch Lite. It's a lot of people's preferred second console. So when it comes to that, why not kind of bring that second preferred console closer to you? You know what I'm saying? Moving forward and having an offering like your subscription service on that device. I mean, to me, it makes sense, especially with Switch being I think the main kind of hook in the Switch is portability, the handheld nature of the system. And I think that's a good idea from Microsoft moving forward with Xbox.
Oh man, the whole conversation about this is just it depends on how you feel about it from the beginning. I've been telling people for the long, ever since Play Anywhere and xCloud and Game Pass became a thing. When Microsoft announced on the Video Game Awards, on the VGAs, the Series X system, this is all stuff that Microsoft had to do. People always want Sony to come out and say the things that they need to say, but technically they don't have to do anything at this point, where Microsoft is basically fighting from literally beginning to end to right the wrongs of everything that happened this generation with that system. So when you hear this paradigm shift that's happening, this is something that's going to happen everywhere sooner or later.
Let me just
Xbox ain't gonna be the only one that does this. Go ahead,
because I want to get to what you're saying. You made a really good point. Reform Tone says, "What console wars? It's Dev Wars." Hashtag Ninja Theory Who, which is an interesting point he puts there. Rain says, "I like what Microsoft is doing with diversifying their IPs and services, but they can't forget about their core base. Xbox fans should have access to some of Nintendo's IPs on their Xbox too." It's a little give and take there, but I think that you guys are. Go ahead.
There's definitely no give.
I was going to say, if you were really interested in Nintendo products or Nintendo games, you would have bought a Switch already.
Facts.
And so, we
have 4 in this house.
I know. It's like, I understand people like, oh, well, my favorite games are going over there, and so we should get something back. Well, if you're really interested in Nintendo, you would have got Nintendo. And the reason why Microsoft wants to potentially maybe put something like Game Pass on the Switch is because I think, as you said, Mooch, it opens up the pool, potential pool to new subscribers, and that service only works if you have subscribers coming in, so you can get content going out.
Yes.
If you don't get subscribers coming in, you're gonna be bankrupt, like that company, that streaming company, that movie company just filed Chapter 11.
Yeah, the funny thing about all this, if you think about the trajectory of all these systems, PlayStation, EA Access, EA Origin Access, EA Access has been on Xbox. It would have got announced probably the year after or 2 years after Xbox launched.
2 years, yeah.
It's been on Xbox the whole time. PlayStation still hasn't had it this whole generation. Why doesn't PlayStation have it? They said we don't need it. As bad as we talk about how you're going to say what gamers on your platform don't need. They
have EA Access now.
They have it. Oh yeah, that's right. They do have it now, but they didn't have it.
They just got it though.
They just got it, so they didn't have it the whole
last year or something.
So the fact that the only reason it's over there is because they see that it worked on that one system, and Sony didn't need it this whole generation. So they said our system sells without it. The reason Xbox allowed that on their system is because it was a value proposition to show a difference in their system because they needed it. Microsoft needed to do all of these things this whole generation to do something to combat what Sony was doing because they just didn't have the software to combat what they were doing.
Combat with Sony. It was to convince their investors that they should.
Listen. Microsoft is in the business of trying to win, and I think they finally came to this is why I kept telling everybody, Microsoft is finally doing what they're good at. They were never good at hard. They were never a really good hardware company. They're a base software company. They're a software company that does services. That's why I love what they're doing now because they're talking in an ecosystem that they're comfortable with. Sony is a hardware company. They're going to sell hardware at a high clip because that is something they're doing their whole generation.
They are a technology and entertainment company.
Okay, yeah, you're right, because they're in movies too. You're right, Enrique. But if you look at the core competencies of both of these companies, they're both heading in a trajectory that works best for them now. Microsoft is digging down with these services, and they're digging down with xCloud. They're talking about the things that's going to make them profitable, that's going to make them relevant.
Forte, and I want you to stew on this for a second. Spawn, I'm going to come to you, and Dreadpool, I want you to chime in too. Spawn, here's my thing, though. We're all sitting here, and we've been saying it for months. And Xbox, your ears have to be bleeding from this, okay? We've been saying this over, right? Bleeding. We've all been saying it, right? We're saying literally, no joke. We're saying, well, this is a smart move. This was a great move by Microsoft. They had to do it. Game Pass is the way. It's great, right? Everything's great. But then now we're seeing here, and I understand it's the end of the year, it's the end of the the end of this fiscal quarter too, pardon me, and it's the end of the generation. but you can see that all revenue streams are down for Microsoft. Forget the hardware. That's irrelevant. All hardware slows down at the end of a generation. We get it. That's old news. But Spawn, my thing is this. This is something that I've been saying, and it's not, I should say I've been saying it. I'm questioning it. And chat, take this with a grain of salt, okay? I understand that everybody in the chat, I understand that everybody who listens to all of our YouTube channels, okay? We are the hardcore. We play games. We come home on Friday, you pick up your favorite beverage, you go home, you play your favorite game, you get on with your best friends playing your favorite game. That's the hardcore. The casual is the person that buys a console 2 years into a generation, buys 1 or 2 games a year. What a streaming service like a Game Pass or a Netflix or a Disney Plus needs is it needs the hardcore Disney fans, it needs the casual Disney fans. And the thing I'm trying to show here, and I've been trying to say this because we've had the $1 incentive deals, we've had the $5 incentive deals, all these things. So people say, well, look, Game Pass is doing great. Well, yeah, we haven't hit the point yet where it's strictly $9.99 or $14.99 respectively for PC Ultimate Game Pass. So, Spawn, I'll start with you. What I'm seeing here when I saw that the category of, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the category for services was also down in revenue. Mm-hmm. That did not show me good faith in the casual market. Not the hardcore, guys. Not the hardcore, because everybody in the chat's going to get upset. Not us. Not you. Not me. Not us. The hardcore, I get. We all have Game Pass. We love it. It's great. But the thing I'm trying to say, Spawn, is are the casuals buying in? Because the people that I speak to, which is a very small sample size, totally throw my case out. Wouldn't even hold in a court of law. But the people that I talk to that play either NBA Live or just Madden or just Call of Duty, they're not interested for $9.99 a month. Heck, they're not interested for $1. That's surprising. They just don't want it. So don't get me wrong. That's just I don't care. My friend, throw that whole case right out. But Spawn, you're seeing the revenue drop. Is it because the casuals are not picking up on what the hardcore are buying?
Well, it was dropped from the year prior. And what they had Forza,
but they have better games now, though, Spawn. Yeah, they have better everything. Why would it go down?
On there. Why would it go down? Their hardware was down bad from the previous year, right? It was down 44%.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And their services were down, what was it, 11?
11 or 17. 11 or 17%, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically it was they were down 20, I think 20 and a half, 25%, I think, or so overall. So the hardware hurt them bad. And I'm sure they packaged Game Pass in with a new system, right? So you get a system, there's like a little voucher for Game Pass in there.
Like 3 months or something like that.
You buy Pop-Tarts, there's a voucher in there. They're putting this thing with there's a picture on on Twitter where if you go in, you get like Wildberry Pop-Tarts, you get like a week of Game Pass or something. Yep. And they're just trying to inflate numbers with that going into the next generation because Satya Nadella during the Q&A investors call said that they actually doubled Game Pass subscriptions from the year prior. Mm-hmm. So they're playing this long game where they're kind of, I think, hoping people forget they have it, and then we charged your card kind of thing. Going into next generation,
the old gym membership thing, Spawn.
Yeah, going into next generation, I think that's going to be the biggest because this year is going to be bad for Xbox in terms of consoles sold, and it's not going to be good for Sony either. So it's not going to be good either one. So I think at this point, it's basically people are just going to have to wait until the next generation starts to really get an actual picture of how everything is when it comes to subscription services. And that's for both companies. Like today, like Sony is looking at subscription stuff heavily right now. Like Horizon Zero Dawn's going to PC soonish. All right. And that's just going to be straight up sold. Like if that's not streaming, that's just straight up sold. And Sony is looking at different methods of making money as well outside of just PlayStation. I think it's gonna be an interesting generation over the next 7 years because they even sent out a survey.
Well, Xbot, let me just do the super chat, and it also kind of plays into what Spawn and I were just saying. Is Fail Pyromancer? Shout out to Fail Pyromancer. I appreciate you being here tonight. He says, I loved Game Pass when I paid $12 for 5 months. But since it expired, I haven't pulled the trigger to renew for $15 a month.
But he's been
There's
waiting
something
for
to that.
Deal. He's been waiting for another deal to hit his dashboard so he can jump on it.
This is what Spawn just said. They're playing the numbers game. And we have to stop being fooled when Satya or Phil come out and go, numbers double. Yeah, it's in a Pop-Tart box.
I want to talk to Spawn real quick on that because what I feel is going on here. What I feel when the Series X and possibly the Series S when they're launched or whatnot, I think one of the big hooks out there would be to tell people, when it comes down to it, with their first party launch lineup, you don't necessarily have to buy any of those games. You can go there with the money for the system, and then you can either put in a voucher or you can start your subscription to Game Pass, and the first party launch lineup is going to be ready right there waiting for you. And we all know that's Halo Infinite. So yeah, when it comes down to revenue taking a loss, I hear what you're saying, but I also think they're also gearing up for, their marketing and the release of their new system. And I think Game Pass is going to be right there alongside it, letting people know that they don't have to go in and buy the games right off the bat. And you're going to see subscriptions jump that way as well.
I think, especially if you look at it now, Ninja Theory has 3 games coming right now. Like kind of out of nowhere, right? Because we got Hellblade 2,
which is in early development, by the way.
Bleeding Edge,
and then they just announced Project Mara, right? Their studios are going to be, Microsoft's going to attempt to release over the next couple of years a game every 3 to 4 months from first party. That's not including third party or anything they can acquire on the Game Pass third party wise as well. They're doing these big moves, trying to get other companies on board. Like all the Yakuza games are going to Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird. That was really weird to see that. So they're going to look for quantity to try to entice people to get into Game Pass so they can build up this big library. But if they actually have these big announcements where they're like, oh yeah, here comes Hellblade 2, and then the next Fable's launching, Perfect Dark's coming. All of a sudden, it's like every couple of months, you have a new reason to either renew Game Pass or buy in. And that's kind of what they're going to attempt to do.
And that's what they're building up towards for right now. So yeah, we're seeing a dip right now. I think what they did, well, first off, I feel like they started moving their newer kind of visions a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? Because they looked at what was going on this console generation. They're like, oh, screw that. Let's start getting ready for, the next couple of years coming or whatnot. So I feel like they have all these incentives and stuff like that now just to get Game Pass out there into the minds of gamers, people trying it out. And, even if they don't kind of continue their subscription for now, I think the marketing is going to go real heavy getting towards the holiday of this year.
You got to look at Microsoft's relationship with Nintendo, with what they're doing, because people want, people are talking about getting Nintendo games. Nintendo's not going to do that, mostly because it's Nintendo Japan, and they're very traditional, so that's not happening. And 2, the IP with Mario, those are I don't even know how you put a price tag on some of those IPs right now. I mean, they're building an entire theme park around it. So what you really need to look at that with the relationship with Nintendo is, for Microsoft, believe it or not, it would be exposure to Japan.
Facts.
Absolutely. Yep.
So when they announced Banjo-Kazooie for Smash Bros, Sakurai did his live stream where he shows off Banjo for 45 minutes, right? And then he tells people in Japan if you want to check out Banjo-Kazooie, go get it on Xbox. And Xbox trended on Twitter in Japan.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
So what did Nintendo do for Xbox? Just that.
That's it.
Yeah. What is Nintendo going to do for me? It's the exposure. See, and that's the other thing people forget.
I mean, they're also getting a lot of money. They didn't just give him Banjo.
Well, no,
right, it's the money. Xbox is getting money. Yes,
they're getting a lot of money from them.
But
yes,
as a fan, for these platforms and IPs, everybody's like, I want this. What did they do for me? Why are we giving them this?
Dread, don't get me wrong. You make a point for a percentage of people in that pie chart, right, but that's a small sliver of the pie.
And that's the thing, though. What we see is what they want us to see. Okay, these people are masters at pie charts. They're masters at Excel.
Absolutely.
You know what they do? It's a hide the shell game. What are they going to show you? They're going to show you the bad stuff. But you know what? If we move this frame out of the way and don't add it to the pie chart, or we move this thing over here in the Excel format, we can show where our gains are, where our numbers are. That's why certain numbers you don't hear from any company, and you don't hear, you hear other numbers, and people are just going back and forth with all this fighting. It's hide the shell. We don't see what they see internally.
Dredd, and nobody likes to ever talk about sports, but I'll bring it up for a minute. The entire MLB community, okay, is using the Moneyball theory, right, which is all metrics based. It's all metrics. So when people say, Mooch, you know,
sure, the Astros, you cheat.
Well, yeah, well, they're using in-depth metrics.
They're using the trash can method.
Yes, absolutely. But you have all teams, 32 teams, whatever it is, that are watching closely these metrics. The thing is sometimes it comes down to old school rhythm and tradition that works when people say pitching is what wins World Series, okay? So what I'm trying to say to you is that, right? So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that all of these companies are using metrics. And it's not my place or anybody on the panel's place or anybody at all to tell these guys what to do. They know what they see, but even if you have all the metrics in front of you, it doesn't mean that's always the right way or the right direction you go in. Sometimes somebody who just uses traditional methods with metrics works and goes a bit further. That being said, let me just say this real quick. Shout out to Element of PL real quick. He says, God forbid we see the Switch Online numbers. Sony ain't doing so hot either while next gen is on the horizon. Now, Sony not doing so hot with that article that came out. Yes, that's apples for apples, Element of PL, with Xbox's issues with hardware. But when I saw software and services drop on Xbox and Game Pass is supposed to be great, I questioned it a bit. So Rain says, are people forgetting that Sony has, and Spawn, you do discuss this at times on your channel. He says, are people forgetting that Sony has a Megaton up their sleeve, followed by another potential big hit with Ghosts? The Last of Us 2, will undoubtedly sell PlayStation 4s. So what Rain's saying in short is basically, yes, Xbox will continue to decline because we're at the end of a generation, but PlayStation will have at least 2 more spikes this generation because of those huge, huge IP that are coming out.
Dude, Halo Infinite will definitely be a spike, brother.
Well, that's next generation, though. But
Well,
you are right.
really,
but you are correct.
It's going to be on all consoles.
Well, cross generation, but it launches with the Series X.
So isn't the PlayStation 4 going to be backwards compatible on the 5? So where does that count then? If I'm playing it on the 5, does that still count for the 4? I mean, yet again, it's that numbers that everybody's talking about.
Well, Dredd, which game are you discussing? Because if we're talking about the Last of Us 2 comes out in May of 2020. So if Ghosts, you could make an argument for where I think you're taking the conversation, but I think when you're talking about The Last of Us 2, clearly the 106 million people, whoever's going to want to play it out of that group of folks will go buy that game currently. I do think what I think Rain was trying to say was that people who are maybe waiting, maybe they're just Switch fans solely, and they never bought an Xbox or a PlayStation, maybe they will jump to buy a PlayStation 4 Slim for $179 and then go pick up a game like The Last of Us 2. What he's saying is I think that PlayStation 4 still has a spike in there somewhere for 2020 where Xbox doesn't have a major title. I know, and this is a great intro right here. I don't have it as a topic, but Xbox brought it up. Ori's coming out. But again, as much as we all can't wait to play Ori, is Ori a console seller? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily got that kind of clout.
Ori will definitely contribute to mindshare, man. Like that, and going towards we're basically at the tail end of this generation, and what's going on here is the companies are looking towards gearing up for the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. Now with Sony, of course, they have a couple games that are coming out before the PlayStation 5, the big one being The Last of Us 2. But other than that, they're really gearing up for the PS5.
Don't forget Ghost of Tsushima's going to have quite a following.
Oh, yeah, well, that game looks awesome.
If it's good,
if
it's good, I mean, we don't know. There's never been a Ghost of Tsushima before. It's not a sequel or anything. I mean, you're giving a lot of credit to a new IP. I
think we're kind of basing that credit too on that track record of that studio too. To be fair, I mean, to your point, it's a new IP, but given the track record of that studio, Sucker Punch, and Sony's track record of releasing new IPs this generation, you could probably, as a betting, if I'm a betting man, I'm probably betting that this game's probably going to be good.
I will say, when it comes down to it, Ghost of Tsushima is one of the more interesting new IPs that I've seen from Sony this generation.
Also, it reminds me of Way the Samurai, so I'm on board with it because I love that game.
Yes.
That series.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It has.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sign checks for it already.
Well,
brand new IP.
You saw
good stuff, man.
You saw Days Gone didn't go over the best, so I get it. You got to wait to see how it goes.
But Spawn, here's the thing, Spawn. Great point. You bring that up. But as much as it didn't do well with the media and the critics, it sold phenomenally.
Oh, it should. There's 100 some odd million.
Thank you, Spawn. Yeah. Thank you, Spawn.
Yeah. Shout out to LMNOP on the super chat. He says, PSA, Xbox, please advertise Ori like a Disney film. Absolutely. But yeah, I do have to reiterate what Enrique just said. Again, Xbox makes a great point. There is no Ghost of Tsushima prequel that we're aware of, so we don't know. But if I was a betting man, after seeing companies like even as Guerrilla Games, and listen, there's no bigger person faulty than me, the Mooch himself, which I didn't think that they were going to be able to pull off a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, and boy, did they. Okay, so when I'm at a point right now where if I had that $100 bill in my hand,
that game, though,
but that is true. I'm not backing that, but it did very well, Xbox, and that's all I'm saying. If I'm a betting man right now and I have that $100 and we're in Vegas, I am putting my money on Sucker Punch.
Because, I mean, not for nothing. Yeah, go ahead, Mooch.
No, go ahead, Enrique. Go.
No, I was gonna say, not for nothing. It's not easy, creating a AAA banger. Like, that's not easy to do. I mean, Nintendo's done it for a while now. Sony's been doing it for a while. It's not easy. So like we talked about Days Gone. I think had Days Gone been delayed, and got a little more shine to it, I think it probably would have probably been received better by the media and the critics. But even like Days Gone, if you look at like Ben's studio and what they did, I mean, this is their first big AAA game, like big open world AAA game, new story, new characters. This is probably their largest. Well, I would say it's their largest project that they've ever done. I think the last console game they made was on the PlayStation 2. I think prior to that, they were making games for the Vita. Ben's claim to fame is Siphon Filter on the PlayStation 1. So even with Days Gone, I thought Days Gone was a pretty impressive effort for the studio who had never really.
I'm biased, Enrique. I'm biased. I love anything with zombies in it, right? I'm even buying Walking Dead for Oculus this weekend.
I gotta ask if you were impressed with the graphics, the gameplay, the story. Like, what really shined through to you at Days Gone?
For me, it was
Number one thing.
I would say the story, the characters. Number one, visually the game looks great. I mean, for a console, it looks great. I mean, you got to remember I play on PC mostly, so I'm not used to muddy textures and stuff.
Oh my god!
There it comes.
Oh my god! Hey, y'all gotta look.
Spawn, are you hearing all this, baby? We got PC guys here. Watch out. Failed Pyromancer.
The mute button.
Right? Failed Pyromancer says there was no Days Gone before that either. Failed talking to Xbox there. And shout out to Buck Nasta real quick. This is a great point here. He says, are you guys forgetting how big Final Fantasy VII Remake is going to be for Sony? There's a lot of Final Fantasy VII
people.
I pre-ordered that. There was a great deal. Shout out to WRZ Cup, who'll probably listen to the show later. He hit me up the minute it came out. Senora Bombastic hopped on it too. I got that game for $41. They ordered it like a year ago. But yeah,
I got an answer for that.
That game's going to be huge.
I got an answer for that. Like, there's nobody out here who's concerned about the episodic nature for Final Fantasy VII. Like, when it comes down to it, the first episode comes out, right? You get to the end of the first episode, it has to be satisfying, like, to the gamer out there. I understand about nostalgia. I was a big Final Fantasy VII player. On my PlayStation when it came out, I absolutely loved that game. I no-life that game, but a lot of my no-lifing was wandering around and building up my power level, all that good stuff. And like I don't know what to think about the episodic nature of it though. That could be a huge backlash.
That game just needs to come out.
I would think about it more like the dot hack series, something like that.
Exactly.
It's a story that's already been written. Like Dot Hack was written before all of those came out, and they broke them up in the games. And they did the same thing with GU. This is from the PS2 era, But they made them episodic, but they were all still very long games that you carry your characters over for. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this. The story's already written. They say they want to do all kinds of cool parts of the story that we haven't seen yet. The demo looks amazing right now. It's on Sony servers, but they won't release it for some reason yet. I don't know why. I thought it was gonna be today because it was the anniversary. They didn't do that yet. Because I really want to play this demo. I've seen it like all the way through so far, and it looks
phenomenal.
It looks incredible. It looks incredible.
Playing it was incredible.
It's apparently the game itself is on 2 Blu-rays because it's so big. It's going to be something, and I think I need to see where the game itself leaves off and how they kind of do the to be continued part before I'm ready to say that I'm not sold on the episodic stuff. I need to at least see the first episode to see how they're going to do this.
Well, that's why I'm being a little kind of like I'm holding myself back from excitement because, like I said, I'm big like Final Fantasy VII. To me, Final Fantasy VII was the best Final Fantasy, and we can go.
I think many will agree with you there.
Argue, but I've had people argue with me and stuff like that about it. It's just that episodic nature, it kind of gets me to hold back a little bit. And shout out to the Geeky Nerd, dude. I am not always concerned about stuff with Sony. What it is so many people are quick to kind of like be like, oh, this is going to be great. And I'm like, well,
you kind of do the same with
you
Halo.
think Battletoads is going to be great?
You kind of do the same thing with Halo.
Hold on. I say I'm excited for Battletoads.
Yeah, but
that's all it is.
But we're saying we're excited for Final Fantasy VII. That's all.
Let me give you a good example here, a very current or very recent one. Why I'm okay with what Sony's or Square's doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was playing Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Okay, that spans the entire. It's from when Raditz lands on Earth to the end of the Majin Buu saga.
The Majin Buu saga, yeah.
It is way longer than it needs to be. It's like almost a 40-hour game, and I'm almost done the game. But there are some cutscenes in the game and parts of that game that just feel like they were rushed. And they just didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. There was a deadline. They had to get this thing out. And I wondered if they had done an episodic thing with that game, if it actually would have been better. Yes. And I almost feel like if they did Final Fantasy VII in that way with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, it would come out and there'd be parts where like nothing happens in the cutscene and it looks like a PS2 game at times like this one does. Because if we wanted to wait for this quality that they keep hyping up with this game, right? Like where they're going to have these insane visuals and these great set pieces. Are we waiting until the PlayStation 6 for that? Because Square is at times very disjointed internally. Like it is impressive at times how disjointed they are.
Have they given a time frame for these episodes for Final Fantasy VII or no?
Nope.
No. They said it'll be faster to get them done after this one is initially done. I don't know if that's because the assets already be made at times, because obviously Cloud's going to look very similar throughout, right? Right. So those the kind of things I assume will make development a little easier. I almost wonder if they're going to be on like a 2-year cycle for the rest of the parts, so that
2 years
on the PlayStation, total. 2 years for each part. I think like after this one comes out, 2 years from now we'll get the next one.
Oh God, don't say that, Spawn.
That's what I think is going to happen.
That's happening, bro. That's what I think too.
And then eventually,
Yeah,
it's Square.
So wait, let me ask this question. So for the folks like myself that bought the whole game, when those every 2 years, if I'm still alive, when I'll be able to download it and play that game, or is they're not $40 per episode, right? Or 50 or $60. It's when you buy the game, you own the game.
I think it's going to be per.
Yeah, it's going to be $60 for each one.
Yeah,
$60 for each 22 hours, 3 hours.
Oh, brother, you looking at
100 over 35 hours.
You looking at $180 game, brother.
Yeah, they're over 35 hours though, I think. But
yeah, they're trying to get more like they're trying to get close. We'll say it was trying to get closer to 60 per each one. If you do,
who let J.K. Rowling into the gaming business? What the hell happened?
You got to make that money, Mooch.
My God, shout out to Elemental PO real quick. He says, are you forgetting Phantasy Star Online 2? First in U.S. on Xbox beta in February. Elemental PO, I don't think people forgot about it. A lot of people have been making that
I'm already signed up. I'm ready to go.
I signed up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I signed up too.
You know how long we've been waiting for this thing?
I still need to sign up for it. Is it too late?
No, you can still sign up. Xbox Insider
All
Hub. Go do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe
Takes
I will.
like
All right, I need to
It's
do that.
full. It's full, Enrique.
So it's Xbox.
No, and I played Phantasy Star Online on the OG Xbox back in the days. That was my jam. Like I spent hours and hours of my life playing that game. So I'm looking forward to this. Hey, I got a question for Spawnwave real quick though.
Go ahead.
Because we're talking about like subscription services and stuff. And just like given like someone was talking about pie earlier, it actually got me hungry. I was like, oh my god, apple pie sounds good right now. But speaking of like the pie, like I feel like the gaming pie is so big now, and I almost feel like there necessarily maybe isn't just one right way to kind of attack this, right? I always hear people saying, oh, like streaming's the future, you got to have a robust online party chat, friends list, and then here's Nintendo, hold my beer, right?
They sold people cardboard, man.
Yeah, they have, yeah. So, but I kind of think like, I see like, and I could be wrong. I mean, it's just my
on the Labo thing real quick. I have a friend who's like a serious engineer. That Labo blew his mind because he's like, I don't know how I would have been able to create this like as an engineer in the lab. Whoever they have actually creating it's cardboard, yeah, but whoever they have creating this stuff, they're convinced that the person's a genius. Like they have a group, obviously they're working on it.
It's absolutely insane.
Like you would be shocked at how they make that stuff work. It is some weird, like that IR sensor on the Joy-Con can take pictures of stuff.
That's wild.
I have the whole Labo set.
It can also take your pulse.
Mooch dresses up like a robot.
Absolutely,
from time to time.
It's my only impression of Optimus Prime I can do.
The robot thing looked ridiculous.
It looks awful. It's ridiculous.
That's hilarious.
Reform Tone says, anybody here watch God of War Raising Kratos documentary? Rebooting or developing a new IP is never easy. Kudos to Sony devs for taking those risks. Reform Tone, I got to agree with you because before we go to our next subject here, myself personally...
I want to finish my question too.
Oh, go ahead, Enrique. I apologize. No. So many things going on.
No, I know. But I guess my point was like, I feel like the gaming pie is so big now, like with mobile, PC, consoles, with different demographic groups. And I always hear people say, oh, well, Game Pass is the future. It's the way the industry's going. And I'm kind of like, well, maybe it isn't. Maybe it might be good for one company. And maybe another company kind of blends Game Pass with what they've traditionally done, or maybe they go that route. Do you think that we'll see the big three kind of maybe incorporate similar things, but also maybe deviate from what the other one's doing in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I think especially Nintendo and Microsoft will approach things differently, mostly because one's an American company, the other one's a Japanese company. I will say Nintendo Japan is very slow on the uptake at times, like shockingly slow. And it's really funny because they basically will tell Nintendo of America one thing, and then it makes no sense to us as Americans, right? Like the voice chat thing, don't get it. No one gets it here, right?
Yeah, that's mind-boggling to me. And the fact that you can't hook a headset up to the Pro controller for the Switch, like, I don't get that.
There's no Bluetooth in the Switch. There's a lot of strange things. But basically, how that works is they talk to Nintendo America. They tell them what's happening, and then they tell them figure out how to tell the American Nintendo America, figure out how to tell your customer base this is what we're doing. That's it. So they're very slow on the uptick. So if you think if any one company will stay very traditional for a while, it would probably be Nintendo. But I think Sony is also looking into subscription stuff. But I think they'll all do things a bit differently. They all have different IP. They have different approaches to technology in a sense. I think like Sony does, a lot of VR stuff now, right? Microsoft doesn't. Microsoft has a large we'll say they have a lot of like hooks in operating systems and what you use in your PC, obviously with Windows, but then they also have massive amounts of servers, data centers, all of this. That's what allows them to do things like xCloud. And it pretty much allows them to basically run over Stadia. So,
Mooch.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a whole dedicated
Shots
area.
Fired, Mooch.
I got a whole dedicated spot for it because I can't wait to talk to Spawn about this. But Spawn, before we get into that one, here's a question in the chat real quick that I get asked. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting there on Xbox and playing a game. Boop, boop, boop. Questions popping up. Mooch, if I just had to buy one, but I'm going to pose it to you, Spawn. If you could only buy one next generation console, would you buy a PS5 or a Series X?
Easiest question ever.
Well, wait now, please. I have to ask one, and then Forte's next.
That is a really good question. I like. I need to see. That's the problem. Right this second, I need to see the game that the initiative's working on. I think I know what it is, but I want to be sure. Man, I would right this second. I would say the Series X.
Okay, now what is, if whatever you can say, what leads you to that? And I mean, now here's my thing that I found interesting when you said the initiative. The initiative's game, and I do believe the initiative is probably their ace in the pocket, by the way. The initiative's game is not coming out until, I would say, mid-2021 if we're lucky.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while.
They'll show it well before then.
So if somebody's saying to you now, Spawn, I've got $500 in my pocket. I can only buy one. It's November 2020. I don't want to wait. I'm a gamer. You still saying Series X because of that game?
I need to see. Well, I need to see the PS5. I don't even know what the thing. I don't even know what the thing looks like right now.
Well, I mean, I think and I'm glad you brought that up because that's been a topic of the past few weeks. We're sitting here and everybody is seemingly okay with a square tower, a rectangle tower.
Oh, I'm perfectly fine with the way Series X looks.
So it doesn't. I don't think Sony. I mean, short of it coming out looking like that bedpan, as long as it doesn't look like the dev kit, which it won't. I don't think it matters. I think we're moving past aesthetics.
Well, I mean, when I say design, I should say when I say what it looks like, I mean like any extra features. Okay. Is it going to be heavily VR focused? I have questions about, because they keep saying other features. I have questions about where they are going this generation.
What do you think, though, Spawn, is the initiative's game?
Oh, I think it's Perfect Dark.
Now, when you say
right at that on Twitter too, I was kind of like, I thought.
So if it's Perfect Dark, I got to get a Series X then.
But here's the thing, though: are they redoing it from scratch, like so we can forget about the past and start brand new? Oh gosh,
they need to throw Zero in the trash. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Okay. They need to go in the dumpster. Oh yeah, no, they just need to forget about that game. But if they do Perfect Dark and we also get a Fable game. Yeah, then I would probably have to buy a Series X. Although I did really like Spider-Man on the PlayStation, and I can't imagine. I mean, I have to imagine Spider-Man 2 would look insane on the PS5. I'm not as sold as a lot of people are on Demon Souls for Blue Point, if that's what they do. I would have liked something different. I'm not a big Demon Souls person.
Are you not a Souls fan overall, or?
No, I liked Sekiro a lot more than Souls, like that kind of game. God.
I agree with that. Yeah, I did too.
I also like Bloodborne though, so the Souls games just didn't really resonate with me. I like Bloodborne and I liked Sekiro. I like Sekiro a lot actually. But again, I like Way of the Samurai, so that kind of like, that kind of fits in there, sort of, So that was way more interesting to me, especially when you start figuring out that Sekiro is basically a rhythm game, but. It was it's tough. I'm a big Halo fan, so
well. Here's the thing, and
that's the thing at launch, like with the new Halo, like if 343 can bring a story like Halo 4,
oh boy,
and multiplayer like Halo 5, and actually have a complete Halo game, you have single player, you have multiplayer.
Look, man, Bungie is not walking through that door.
Hey, Bungie's free. Goodness. Somebody go get Bungie. They're free, right?
Bungie's not walking through that door tomorrow.
Go get Bungie back. Bring him back in the fold.
Like I have a
complete game, bro.
That's the funny thing. Like I have several PCs now for games, but I still look at the Series X because I work on my PC all day. I'm like, I kind of would rather just play a console. I'm one of those kind of people who are like, you know what, I could just play a console instead of my PC, which I look at like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day.
You got even more respect from me now, brother.
Yeah, like I have several quite powerful PCs, but I'm like, I'd rather render videos and work on 4K timelines right now with that. That's the tough thing. Like I said, if I have my PCs, I might look at the PS5 after what they show and be like, yeah, I guess I'd get that. But to be honest, I'm probably buying 2 or 3 of each, ripping one apart, all that.
When you do those episodes, though, Spawn, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have to shed a tear while I watch it. It's so.
Let's talk about how you be
You know, I respect electronics so much. Like literally, I have like a dust area like that's not like there's no dust in this entire room where my PC like tower is.
I'm just rude. I'm rude to these electronics.
No, bro. I be seeing I be watching them do that, especially his GameStop ones where he opens up like stuff he gets from game, and I'll be looking at the person that's working there. I'm looking like, I wonder if The Rock actually cleaned that system out. And I'm like just thinking in my mind, like, did they really clean it? Then when he opens it up, say, "Oh, this was perfect. I can't believe they actually did it." And I'm like, "Oh, they actually did a job on it. Cool."
I started wondering if they have if they knew who I am now, who's order stuff from them. I started to wonder that because the packages got better and better as I ordered more and more and did videos on them. So I almost I got to order from a different address or a name or something just to see.
Sometimes that stuff comes from an actual store though. It doesn't come from the warehouse.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for Spawn here. I think it's Ni Koob. He says here, it's really cool. He goes, "Why does Xbox?" Well, he says, "Why doesn't Xbox grow some balls?" But he goes, "Take some chances on new IP." Because I do have to say something. So the one thing, Spawn, that you just said that I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I like those titles too, but I've never been a huge Fable fan. So I put that aside. And then when it comes to Perfect Dark, I'm like, okay. Perfect Dark for me was never great, but if they reboot it or do something amazing, I'm all in. But sure. Every time we talk to anybody, right, we're like, bring back Banjo-Kazooie. I want more Halo. Bring back Perfect Dark. I want more Fable. It's like we've been playing these games since 2007. It's like, can we when we sit here and talk about the PlayStation brand, we're like, Xbox brought up a great point. Why are you guys so high on Ghost of Tsushima? You don't know. That's the intriguing part. And you said to yourself, why did you like Sekiro? It stepped away from Souls. It was different. So, when we hear Fable's coming and Banjo's coming, and it's like, we know what those are. Can we get some new IP for the love of God? And
I'm actually with you on the whole initiative thing. I'd rather see a new IP than kind of reboot.
Me too.
Dark. When it comes,
I think they will have both. But.
When it comes to their library from the Xbox history, there are certain games that I think could kind of be made for today that would be interesting and still new, like Mech Assault. I don't see a lot of mech games where they go all out. Big budget title, all that good stuff. Even dogfighting games like Crimson Skies and stuff like that, I think could come back. But a lot of people in the Xbox community, again, you say nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and they're like, "Yo, bring back this title, bring back this title, bring back this title." And honestly, if they listened to everybody in the community, they would make all these games rebooted and stuff like that. And I think not a lot of people would buy them anyway. So you got to mix it up between grabbing from the past and also making new IP.
Do you think that? But is Xbox? But are they? Because you have Playground Games, one of their biggest pickups is going to be doing Fable, right? The Initiative going to be doing a remake of some game. And it's like, okay, there's their two big boys. Go ahead.
With Ninja Theory, my bad, just real quick. But with Ninja Theory, you saw them. They're working on 3 projects. One is about to come out. They have Hellblade 2 in early development. And then even beyond that with Project Mara, whatever that turns out to be. So look at all these development studios and think that there's more than one project on the table. Because I mean, that's what I would think. You know what I'm saying? So
but when you take a team that has 100, 200 people and you're telling me they're making 3 games, I'm not that enthralled, because now you're telling me 80, 60, 40 people are working on each game respectively. I just think that when you're talking about AAA, and the community word here, Spawn, these days is bangers, right? So if you hear someone like Ninja Theory, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, 200 strong at most now with the new hires, maybe 250 with new hires. I'll give them whatever you want. And they're working on 3 titles. I'm not enthralled. Well, I would rather hear 200 people are working on one game.
One is almost out. What you're doing is you're rotating your developers on the different projects. Whatever's coming out first, you're making sure that is running properly.
Xbot, when you are a master or you're so into your art, okay, you love what you're doing. if you're telling me, you go talk to the people at Naughty Dog that are making The Last of Us. Like, I read Jason Schreier's book, okay? And
dude, I'm not a Last of Us fan, though.
But hear me out. Well, forget. It doesn't matter. I'm using it as an example. But I read Jason Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and the thing about that book that was interesting was when Neil Druckmann and his folks had to kind of leave their pet project. A group of Naughty Dog went and started working on The Last of Us, and Uncharted 4 ran into problems with Amy Hennig, etc. Okay, they had to go back and regroup and leave The Last of Us to go back and do Uncharted. And you can see Neil kind of wanted to leave Uncharted alone. He was kind of done with it, which is why I think Uncharted 5 will be done by a different developing team. But what I'm trying to say to you in short here is there's a passion, there's a love. If you're telling somebody at Ninja Theory, hey, I need you to put 25% on Bleeding Edge. I need you to put 45% of your time on this. It's not their love in TLC. You know,
I believe it's.
Do you understand where I'm coming from, though?
I hear you, but I don't think you're right, man, is what I'm saying.
That's fine. Like, you don't have to agree with me. It's CrossFire. Yes, I hear you. Man. That's right.
When it comes down to it, I believe it's the studio themselves that are deciding who's doing what. I feel like, Phil is like, go ahead and make what you want to make, create what you want to create.
Right.
And that's what's going on. They have, I believe somebody in the chat actually said, there's 4 projects in the works from Ninja Theory, and what they're doing is they're allocating time to whatever is coming out most recently. You know what I'm saying? So
okay, I hear you. So Spawn, when you hear me and Xbox Case, which are you leaning a little more towards, or not? Forget that. I shouldn't say. Where do you feel when you hear a 200-man or 200-person team? Okay, is working on 3 to 4 games.
I think it also depends on how efficient they are with the people they have. If you think about, like, Ninja Theory did a pretty cool, they did like this documentary series almost where they showed that you can make a game like Hellblade with like a $10 million budget and not like a massive
20 people.
Yeah, not a massive studio. I think they are just already in that mindset, and Microsoft said, hey, we're going to try to, we're going to give you guys what you need to make as many games as you can. And they said, well, we can make 3 right now. I will say I'm not super sold on Bleeding Edge because I just don't really care much about hero type shooters anymore or any of that or what arena stuff. I just don't care anymore about them. That doesn't mean that it's not going to be a fun game for people. I'm just like,
don't say that. Right. Overwatch 2 is going to be coming out at some point in time, man.
What's that? I said
Overwatch 2 is going to be coming out.
I'm not a big Overwatch person.
Yeah, me neither. I'm with you. I'm not an Overwatch fan. I'm not a Bleeding Edge fan. I agree with Spawn. My concern is this: Overwatch. When you look at the games that we say, okay, do me a favor, everybody right now on the panel, and don't do this. This is just rhetorical. But put your favorite 3 games of this generation on paper. You're not putting down the games that were. I bet you Hellblade doesn't make anybody's list. That's my point. So what I'm saying to you is, yes, they can accomplish that feat, Spawn, and that's not really what's on the table. What I'm saying is, now you take a team that's talented, and they are talented, by the way. Ninja Theory is super, uber talented. Give them infinite amounts of money. Give them unbelievable amount of tools and resources and software that they didn't have before, and let's see what this team can make. No. What does Microsoft do? They're doing this thing, what I call the West Coast syndrome. Do whatever you want. Be creative. I don't care. I'll check in on you every 3 to 6 months. We'll see how things... No, stop it. Stop it. We're giving you tens of millions of dollars. Tell us your dream. That's fine. But then let's focus in and let's put at least 3/4 of this workforce towards something that's substantial and a memorable IP. And this is the problem. You've got all of these teams they're picking up, okay? You keep hearing these numbers. Compulsion Games doesn't have a good resume. They don't have a good resume, okay? You've got, what's the other, with, oh, God, now I'm going to forget his name. Double Fine, who I think they do great work. It's a lot of fun. Those are fun games.
Awesome
but they're
work,
double-A little games. That's not going to be a big deal. Then you have Playground. Playground's doing a crowd pleaser in Fable. It's gonna be probably a Fable for the ages, but it's a game we've all played a million times.
And they make Forza Horizon.
I hope they kill it. I hope they absolutely knock it out of the park. I just was kind of hoping. Go ahead, Forte.
I'd say there's a good chance that Playground could be working on new IPs going, because of if the rumors and news of what the new Forza is going to be, the motorsport game, being an open world version of a game. They could have assimilated a little bit of what Playground was doing with Horizon and combine those two games together at this point.
I wouldn't put all my chips on that corner of the table with it being a open world type. They did
not open world, but more open than what motorsport is now. Right. I mean, if you kind of think about it, it's kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say they're redundant because they're two different games, but if there's a way you can bring out, the way you could make motorsport a better game is by implementing both of those games together and giving it to you in one package, which will open up another studio to be able to produce more games. And we all know, like Spawn was saying earlier, you're trying to get 3 to 4 games from your first party in a year, at least one every quarter. That will make that an even more viable option, especially if Playground is working on Fable, and then they could also be working on something else too on the back end.
You know, when it comes to motorsport, I hear what you're saying, but I think, you know, between motorsport and Horizon, it got bigger because it grabs a wider kind of like gamer demographic. Right. You know what I'm saying? Has more of an arcadey pace to it and stuff like that. I don't think they're gonna do that arcadey type. From what I'm hearing, you know, with the atmosphere, density of humidity in the air, changing the aerodynamics of your car and stuff. They got to stay more on the simulation side than anything else. I think that's like the true motorsport. So
yeah, but you never know, because if it's way like some people are thinking it could be, if you're going into, like, when you're going from place to place, it could have that Horizon feel. But as soon as you hit the track, that might be the feel that you get when you're in motorsport.
Motorsport just needs an immersive like single player like campaign of, like, you know, being a race car driver and kind of like building up your status and stuff.
I see where you're going with that, and I mean, I think that this is it's a good subject. I do think that I want to just.
It wasn't even on your topics, man.
I know. I got to change topics real quick. I'm changing topics really fast here. So, of course, our guest of the hour, I have to go with Spawn here. Spawn, you have been relentless on Stadia, and I think that means you are probably at the end of the day going to see the same path at the end of this conversation. But I'm going to go ahead and let you state your issues first, and then I'm only going to counter with something that I think is just the business sense and not necessarily gaming sense. So, Spawn, what has Stadia done right, wrong, and not reversible?
Not reversible?
Meaning, like, they've screwed up so much that you as a gamer are not willing to forgive or even consider a purchase in the future.
Oh, I can still consider a purchase in the future, but I just don't think Stadia was ever really a viable option for me in the first place with what it's pitching, with its streaming service. I don't think I'm the audience for it, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not really sure who the audience is for that.
That's a valid question. That's a very valid question.
Like, I looked at it, I'm like, okay, so it's for gamers, and they say we have Destiny 2, and I go, okay, they gave me Destiny 2 for free the other day at Best Buy when I bought a game.
Right.
What else you got? And then they really don't. They launched with, like,
well, I believe it's the entire Destiny collection. Which, by the way, even though, and I don't know if you're a Destiny fan or not, Spawn, but when Stadia launched in November, I believe it was just early October, end of September. Forte will tell you, he's our resident expert. But we all just paid $40 some odd to get the updated version, the new DLC. So the entire collection was in there. So there was value to that. But I understand if you're not a Destiny fan, really means nothing to you.
I think the biggest problem I had with Stadia when they launched is that they didn't say it, but it was pretty much a paid beta.
Facts.
Yes. Absolutely. I've been saying that since day one on the channel.
The facts. The fact that Microsoft came out and put out 50 games on xCloud.
Are any of you guys in the xCloud beta right now?
Sure am.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. They just added a bunch of games the other day too, and one of those games was Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Yes, they did add Destiny. Now, did they add Destiny 2, including all the DLC?
Oh, I'd be shocked if they did that. I don't think so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So there is, like I said, there was value there. I get that. But I mean, my thing was this, Spawn, and then I want to throw my 2 cents out there. I want to hear Spawn's, and I do want the panel to chime in. Guys, all do chime in on this. But here's the thing. So xCloud's coming out. Listen, I'm going to not make this conversation. I'm going to not make this xCloud versus Stadia. It's not. Because here's the thing. Whether we're talking about Coca-Cola or Pepsi, Reebok or Nike, you guys pick a Chevy or Ford. It doesn't matter. We can go right down the list. McDonald's, Burger King. It doesn't matter. Okay? We can't sit here as logical folks and say that xCloud is going to present the only streaming service for gaming, period. And just sit there and be like, yep, that's right. That's what I said. You know there's a competitor.
We can't say
there's always going to be a competitor, and there's no better competitor than a Google or Amazon. Now, I'm not going to give, like everyone else already wants to jump on the Amazon boat. They haven't even done anything yet. They haven't even said they're doing anything officially.
They're going to,
well, screw Google. I'm going to Amazon. What are you going to buy? What?
They're going to have the same problem that Stadia has right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Spawn. Thank you. The first person to say that.
Neither of them are gaming companies, so Microsoft at least understands the gaming landscape. Google, I think the biggest problem they're running into with Stadia is I think they should be selling it as more of a utility rather than a platform.
Okay.
Like they should be looking around and like if you want to, rather than
have you seen their recent deals though, Spawn? They have a deal with, I don't know if it's BT or BU over in the UK, and now they've just made a major deal with Verizon. When you sign up with Verizon, you immediately get Stadia with it. So
that's the kind of stuff I would say is a good idea. I assume that's their Stadia Pro, right?
I believe so. Yes, because the other option's not even out yet.
Okay. Do they give you like a Chromecast too and everything? The Ultra?
Yes.
Yes, you get the entire thing that the Pro folks got.
Okay. Does it come with heat sinks? I did a video on that. They the Chromecast Ultra had like overheating problems.
Mine doesn't. I've had the day one edition. I've had no issues with it. I mean, here's my thing.
You get a reusable ice pack with it.
Well, I took temperatures of it, and it did get to, I'll say, alarming temperatures.
It does get warm. It does get warm. I saw your video. It does get warm. I checked mine. I don't have the measuring tool, but I felt it, the field test, and it was warm. But I mean, here's the thing when it comes down to it. The tech works. It works. Like it's only going to get better. And you're right, it is a beta. By the way, I want to completely hop on the Spawn Wave bandwagon. This is a paid beta. Do not be fooled. It is a paid beta. But it works, and it's only going to get better. And there's so many different outlets that can kind of work with this. Think about it if Xbox does want to go on that platform with their Game Pass, or if Ubisoft and all these other folks that have their
Game Pass.
EA,
Game Pass
right?
is definitely launching on that.
Right. So
on xCloud, yeah.
There's a huge that's on xCloud. But I'm saying like there's so many different things that can go on to Stadia as well. But I want to get back to my original point was competition. We can't sit here and be like, I love xCloud and what they're doing. Boo, Stadia and trying to compete. Like, we need competition in that space. You can't have Xbox be the only people, or Sony be the only people, or Nintendo be the only people.
Nobody is saying boo to Stadia because of that. They're saying boo to Stadia because of
why? Because the tech works, or they don't have enough games yet? This is the first time they're entering the game space ever.
Not enough games.
Yeah, they should have showed up with games.
You got to get out of the Church of Stadia for a little while.
You guys got to understand something. You can't.
Church of Stadia.
Listen, you can't. Listen, let me take the panel here. Dread, Enrique, Gaming Forte, Mooch, Spawn Wave, and Xbot. We are now all a $1 trillion company. Congratulations, folks. Okay, yeah. Well, don't buy a helicopter yet, Enrique. Hear me out. My point being is this, right? Is that the deal is this: we are just getting into. They're just getting into it. They're 3 months into the gaming business, and everybody's shitting on them. I don't get why we can't give. They're not just trying new technology out, but they're also first time ever dipping their big toe into the gaming pool, and everybody won't even give them until the next E3. To get listen, they're saying 120 games by June. Like 120 games. So if you want to go ahead and get on this service and you want to play it, who's playing 120 games in 6 months? I mean, it's not a bad start. I don't understand. The tech works. The games are on the way. They said 120 games. That means they have documented people who put names and signatures on paper. I'm very confused on why the hate when everyone's like, I love xCloud, but I don't want any competition.
I think there's a couple of I think game streaming in general, people aren't really sold on at this time. Like right now, I don't think a lot of people are just sold on as a replacement. I think it's better as a supplementary service.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think Stadia would work better if you rented games through it, for example.
Yes.
Like, let's say you have 24 hours to kill. Let's say you're visiting, I don't know, parents or something, you know, you had to travel, and you pull up a browser on your my Surface laptop here, for example. I go, oh, I'm gonna fire up Stadia. I'm gonna pay $5 and I'm gonna play Destiny 2 tonight. Right. I'm not going to buy it. You know, let's say this is the free option. And, you know, let's say it would have been $60. Well, I'm going to spend $5 and I'll rent it for the night. Like renting a movie through your Comcast box, for example, you know, something like that. I think that's where Stadia would work really, really well if Google did it that way. Whereas what they've done here instead is they've asked for $130 from people and said, we'll show up eventually with games. Here's guilt. We formed this studio the other day.
Right.
We don't know when a game's coming from it.
That's
but we
a good
formed
point.
What they should have done is they should have made a splash and they should have bought somebody.
Yes.
Absolutely. I agree with all three of those. So.
They have Google money, right? I would have done something absolutely crazy if I was them. I would have bought Sega.
Sega or Rockstar.
I would have bought. Well, they probably.
I went as far as I could.
I would have bought. Yeah, sure, Rockstar.
Right? You like that, Spawn? Spawn's like, I can't even. Spawn's like, I want to like top you, Mooch, but you went to
Capcom.
The top.
Go buy Capcom. Go do something crazy, right? Go get a studio.
But is that even out of the question yet? It's not really out of the question yet.
I don't think it's out of the question. I think Capcom's doing better now anyway. But like,
yes.
You know, there are places they could have gone and reached out to people and said, we're gonna buy you guys, okay? Show up and just, you know, we're gonna buy you.
No, great example. JudaZuk, real quick. He just says, and Forte, don't go hopping on this because his last category, I went on a Mooch rant and I ruined all the super chats. He says, why does Gaming Forte want to kill Forza Motorsport? It should never be open world, but don't take offense to that. Right now, we'll go on to something else.
We already answered that in the chat, sir.
Yes, you did. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Forte. Elemental PO says Stadia screwed up by saying it's up to devs to advertise their games on the service. It's YouTube rules. Listen. You know, here's the thing. So we can go ahead and get upset with them for that last comment. But realistically, whether we're talking about Xbox, Sony, Google, it doesn't matter. The publishers are telling you when the games are coming. So when people are like, hey, Google, when's the games coming? They're like, listen, we're using Linux. When they're done, they're done. What do you want me to do?
I think the problem we're running into with Google is they seem uninterested at times in this service that
I
just
agree
showed up.
that I've noticed,
and they have a history of getting rid of services fairly quickly if it doesn't work right away, and
but
that's
so does
why
everybody. Spawn, right? I mean, Microsoft got rid of Zune, they got rid of Groove. I mean,
they try. I will say Microsoft tried to keep Zune alive longer than they should have.
Surface was a foot out the door until they got the new what's his name there? Panos or whatever. Until they got him, Surface was almost out the door.
Yeah. Hey, I'll give Surface credit. It's a $2 billion
absolutely
sector of Microsoft now.
It's amazing what you can do when you make your product look sharp.
Yeah. Some awesome hardware, man.
In the new hardware, you can actually open it.
Well, look at it. Look at this. I mean, that's why when in Dread, you know what, Dread? I'll go to you on this one. That was why when we first discussed this early on in the show, I said, you know, everyone's just making light of the Xbox Series X and saying, oh, I don't mind having a rectangle in my family room. That's fine. But what I'm saying is this, and Spawn, you go ahead, please. Do me a favor. If you make a video, just say Mooch once in the video. But nonetheless, okay? But my point is, I'm telling you, you will hear the design come up big time over the gaming community the minute the PS5 has an unbelievably sleek design. The reason nobody has a problem with the rectangle is because there's nothing to compare it to.
It looks like my Comcast box.
Yeah, it looks like my AirPort Extreme, my Apple AirPort Extreme. Yeah.
It does look like the Comcast router.
Yes, you know, it does.
The funny thing.
Go ahead, Dread.
The original Xbox One and the original Xbox itself never bothered me. As much as everybody said it looks like a DVR, it doesn't bother me. I put my games in. I grab my controller and I'm watching the TV. I'm not watching the controller anymore.
I'll be honest, I didn't like that original Xbox One. I did not like that thing.
Yeah.
And especially after you see the S and the X, you go, wow.
Well, that was Panos, right? And if I'm saying his name wrong, please correct me. Xbot knows his name, but Panos, the Surface designer,
Panos Panay,
right? Yes, Panos came in and stepped in for the S and the X, and it was rumored. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, but Panos had nothing to do with the Series X, and I'm just going to say this much: we could tell. You know what I mean? Because it was like, hey, Mooch, we got all this shit we want to pack into the box. I'm like, how about a huge rectangle? I got to get back to CrossFire. Sounds good, Mooch. And that was it.
Hold on. If
that was the design,
if the functionality, if what Phil said when it comes to it, they just wanted to make sure this thing is as cool and quiet as possible.
Xbox. I don't remember the great scientist, but we found out heat rises hundreds of years ago.
Dude, I just found that out like 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about?
Come on, listen. The heat rises. This just in at Microsoft.
Holy crap.
So all of a sudden they make a rectangle. But my point being is, and I'm telling you, we will sit here and say we have no problem with the Series X. And myself personally, I also have no problem with it. I don't mind the design. But if Sony, which that fake design that was going around the other day, or in this evening, of what the PS5 could look like, if that looks anything like that, with those ergonomic, just that unbelievably curved look, now you're going to start hearing people do the same thing, Spawn, that happened in 2013, like you just said, where I personally didn't mind the VCR, but people did. And guess what? It's in your living room. So if it bothered you, I understand that. I'm not going to critique you on how you want your living room to look in your entertainment center. If this thing is a big rectangle right now, I'm telling you, it won't fit in many people's entertainment centers. It's going to either go behind your television set or it's going to go on the side of your entertainment center near your router box on the floor. And other people always had their entertainment centers. I have mine right now completely centered around my consoles. That's going to change with the Series X because it's not going to look right horizontally.
Well, let me ask you this. Which system do you think will sell better at launch? The Lockhart or the Series X?
Well, I think the Lockhart's coming out almost a full year after the Series X.
You think it's going to come out after the Series X?
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
Absolutely. I don't see that being ready for November.
No?
No.
Huh.
Yeah, it'll be a complete surprise if they push it out at the same time.
You think so, Spawn?
Maybe.
I'm not saying, I mean, nothing's impossible. But
okay.
I think that it'll come out because
that sounds like a yes, by the way, Mooch.
It definitely sounds like a yes.
I think that thing's coming out at the same time.
Yeah, I heard it's coming out in November. I heard we'll hear it at E3 is what who knows if that's true, but that's what I heard.
I think Lockhart's going to look a bit different. That could be the sleek box. That could be the $300 sleek box.
Yes.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, Spawn, and I think everybody like. I'm only speaking for myself, and I'm speaking for a lot of the hardcore here. I think that why would I have a Lockhart? It's called an Xbox One X.
Are we?
Like I don't need that. I have that in here. I have a very, very capable box right now. I want the latest and greatest. I think the hardcore gamer folks, which buy day one. Right? Think about it for a second. Think about it.
You already have the latest and greatest. You have a
no, hold on. I'm sorry. I do. I have a PC. But my point being is
Xbox One S won't have the new features or anything that's going to come with the new hardware, though.
Spawn, next buy, both of you guys, who buys day one when a new console comes out? Hardcore. Why are the hardcore going to go out and buy a lesser inferior box and Lockhart? Microsoft knows they don't have to put the Lockhart out day one. They don't have to.
No, but
it would hurt their Series X. It would hurt the Series X severely. And it would rather. And think about it. If that wins, Spawn, if that wins, and you have a $399 Lockhart beat out the PS5, the PS5 is going to run they're going to run circles around the Lockhart. They want to go Series X and trounce the PS5. The PS5 will destroy the Lockhart. So in essence, they would be shooting themselves in the foot.
I think price sells consoles more than people think.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's not a true next gen.
Well, I mean, it'll play the same games, right?
So does my X.
Well, it won't. I mean, it won't play all of the same games. Lockhart
yes, it will
eventually. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
2 years out, according to Matt Booty. That's long enough for a Lockhart to come out.
They're talking first party, Mooch, when it comes to that stuff, man.
You think the initiative
saying third party?
Like you're gonna have let's say you have Ubisoft come out with a game that's only for PS5 and Series X, and that supposed to also work on the series. We'll say S now.
The thing
but
is,
it
though,
won't work on the X.
Shout out to future generations of chat. He goes, it is for casuals. Mooch, shake my head. He doesn't understand what I'm trying to say here. Casuals, my friends that are casuals that buy Call of Duty and NBA 2K, they don't care that November 2020 is the new console releases, especially once they find out that NBA 2K 2021 plays on their X that they own. They don't care.
But eventually, eventually they'll have to upgrade, right?
Right, but Spawn, there's my point. Eventually, I'm not saying Lockhart's coming out in 2027. I said it's coming out a year later. So
you're saying it's up to Microsoft to sell the system with their first party stuff, but they're not going to be doing any type of exclusives. We move into that to the exclusive conversation.
Well, I mean, I think that this plays a role, right? Because I think ultimately, when it comes down to it, Microsoft and Matt Booty said we are not going to showcase our Series X for 2 years, and it's like, well, I guess you could go ahead and parlay that and say, well, Mooch, that's where I'm squeaking in the Lockhart, okay? But I mean, at the same time, you're going to have 2 SKUs out there, and I know people don't like to hear this. I know you guys don't like to hear this in the audience, but guys, it's confusing. Like, why would you have 2 new consoles come out?
Well,
why?
2 SKUs worked last generation.
Do you know the reason?
Yeah, they were timed, though, Forte. They didn't come out at the same time. They were timed. They didn't come out the same day. Like, you have to understand, if we're talking about the hardcore, let's have a hardcore discussion. If we're having a casual...
That they both did come out at the same time?
Who? What?
Didn't they both release at the same time last generation?
What are you talking about?
And the Xbox?
The S came out a year before the X.
It did.
No, I'm talking about last generation, not the current generation we're in.
Oh, you're talking about the 360. Right. There was an arcade version.
It was an arcade version. Yeah. It was $100 difference.
Yeah, but that was only a memory thing. That was only a hard drive.
But it was still 100. But you saying confusion? It was still two different SKUs.
Well, come on. Well, I think my point stands. You're talking about only hard drive space.
But people ask questions. Like, this is what I always go back to. Why are you walking in a store and not asking a question about why this system is $399 and this one is $599 or $499?
I'll Superman 2 that and hit the crystal, the shield that I'm in, and I'll reverse that question to you saying, I'm coming in looking for a new console, and somebody says, well, we have 2 for Xbox. Well, which one should I buy? Well, do you want the one that gives you the higher fidelity, the higher this, the higher that, or do you want the one that's a little leap over what you got now? I want the bigger one. Okay. Like, the hardcore's coming in day one, again, not the casual.
Price as well. Like, they're going to look at the price of both of those as well.
Right.
But
and they're going to ask them to play the same game.
Listen, if you're confused
in the holidays,
if you're confused on the panel or in the chat on this conversation, just imagine somebody that plays 1 game a year.
Yeah, but as a salesperson, you're going to want to make that sale. So if you're going to, even if you mislead them by telling them certain truths to go with a smaller console, you're going to go that way because you want them to buy at least that. If they're not going to, if they're hesitant about buying a bigger console for the price, well, you know what? We've still got this other one that still plays certain games, but they didn't tell you, like in the 360 days, that you still are eventually going to need that hard drive that sells for $120 versus the $100 difference that you're going to pay right now.
I guess it really depends on where you go.
That's the thing. It all depends on everything. Who you talk to, who you question.
Well, I mean,
who is what? You know, when I walk into a GameStop wearing Xbox, and I say I'm here to pick up my Xbox game, and the girl looks at me and she goes, "Oh, you mean for the PlayStation? Because it's better." And I'm like, no,
I would find it
Xbox.
I would find it very odd
Yes,
that
you
you would
do.
have 2 SKUs at the very launch. I completely am. Listen, everything that Forte said, everything that Spawn said, I'm in Dread. I'm completely on board. Xbox.
Mooch, I just think.
Why not them at the same time?
No, say it's options. It's like, look, and I understand the comparison of the the Lockhart to the X, but Lockhart is still a generational leap from the X. When you think of the CPU, I know it's 4 teraflops. You're talking about 4 teraflops RDNA, which is probably more than GCN. I don't know what the teraflops. I think
it's definitely more than GCN.
X is what 6 teraflops, but GCN. So when you factor in 4 RDNA, it's actually more powerful. And then you think about the beefier CPU, and then you think about the SSD. This presents I think, a more cost-effective entry point for consumers who maybe don't want the Series X, but
but they want the next gen times. Experience. They want the better CPU.
Yeah, they want the better CPU. They want the better GPU. So
you guys got to hear yourselves. You're telling me a casual that plays 1 game a year, 2 games a year.
Well, no.
They want the better CPU and the better RAM and the better. Come on, guys.
I'm just saying.
Got to keep it relative here.
I'm just giving the reason why Microsoft's doing this. They're giving people the option. Now, will some people get confused? I'm sure they will. I'm sure some people will get in there and they'll see potentially 4 different SKUs.
But Forte works in the business. So I come in, I have no idea. I just play Madden every year. Hi.
Oh, we want to have this conversation. It's a role play scenario.
I want to move this up. I want to go up to the next level. Okay, you got in everything. I'm not going to rehash everything everybody just said. Everybody just gave those great conversations for Lockhart. Great conversation series. And what is this? Where are Sony's 2 SKUs? Oh, no, they just have the PS5. It's 4K 60. It's next generation ready to go. I'll take that. What do we...
Why is that, though?
Why? But because Enrique just said a great example against the situation. Who's coming in that's casual and goes, well, Mooch, it's the better cost-effective purchase for the person who wants the better CPU, the better... That's not the customer.
For the casual, you just go with the price line, and they're
if you're a casual, you don't care about all the other stuff. You just want the system. Yeah, walking out with a lock card.
What do you think? What do you think sells better right now, the S or the X?
Yes.
Yes, by a lot, actually. It's by quite a bit.
It's a landslide.
I think the only system that has a lower price point that sells worse than a higher one is probably the Switch, honestly.
So,
because of the portability of the $300 system.
The only thing this conversation has done for me is talk me out of buying a Series X.
Well, you shouldn't buy a Series X.
Why though? Why? I can go get a Lockhart. I can get a Lockhart, save $200. I have the PC that Xbox told me to build 2 years ago. So
then why buy an Xbox at that point if you're looking at it that way?
Well, that's a great point.
Play your games on PC. And
that's the whole.
That's what I'm doing.
That's what Enrique's doing.
That's the whole scenario.
I don't see why you would listen. Everything that's happened, right? When you're talking about 360 and you're talking about the Slim, and then you talk about the PS4 and then the Slim and the Xbox and the S, and the price goes down. The idea of having that is you want to have everybody, you want to introduce your product, grandstand, here's your Series X, this is the best, this is going head-to-head with our competitor. Then you have your Lockhart come out a year later, and it's a much cheaper SKU for everything you guys all just said. Great CPU, still an upgrade, blah, 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 but it's cheaper. Why would you want to? You're literally conflicting at the same time.
They launched 2 SKUs in their most popular generation, and it was fine.
What are you talking about?
With the 360, with the arcade.
The 360, that's like bringing up NES records. That doesn't mean anything anymore.
Oh, God.
It doesn't mean anything anymore. It doesn't.
It does.
If anything, the community wasn't as big as it is now.
So, wait, Spawn, you were going to say something. Spawn, what was your logic?
My logic is Game Pass costs the same on either one, so they don't care what.
Facts.
Well, again, if I may, I have an Xbox One X. It plays Game Pass.
Once again, why are you upgrading?
They don't care. They just want people in the ecosystem. That's at the end of the day. That's what they want. They don't care about if anyone picks up a Series X.
I mean, eventually they're going to move to that Series X and Lockhart. Eventually, they will leave these systems behind.
Yeah, the X will be gone. The S will be gone within maybe 24 months.
I thought Phil would want to get away from the Don Magic era as soon as possible, but apparently not.
Dude, they're not going to talk. They're not going to talk about it.
The funny thing is, Mooch, you probably walk in my store, talk to me about all this stuff, and I might tell you, you might walk out with nothing with the way you talking right now. You already got a because like I said, it really just comes. Why are you buying the system? Are you if you're a console gamer? And that's all you play is console.
Well, let me answer your question.
You're going to appeal to the highest end. Like if you want the top graphics and everything, you'll get the higher system.
Let me answer your question. Just like Spawn said, I work on a PC all day long. Okay, so yes, there are times on the weekend where I have no problem walking into my office at home, turning on my PC, and playing a game on PC. I love it. I do. Right, but hear me out. But the reason I would still walk out of your store with a game console, like I have my entire life, is because the rest of the week, besides Saturday, I actually like to come home, sit on the couch, And because of Xbox is the great service they do provide, is wherever I left off on Saturday, on Monday I can sit on the couch and play on my Xbox Series X and continue my game. And
that's where all
not
the
have
questions
have detrimental visuals or frame rate issues. So
look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Microsoft doesn't. They need to do a really great job in communicating what the different city systems are. They have to do that because you can't rely on associates in stores. I work again. You can't rely on all these associates. Half of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. You cannot rely on those people. But I'm trying to tell you, if you go into a store and people just ask you questions like, you got an X, you walk in, say, hey, I'm looking to get one of the new systems, which one do you have?
Okay.
Oh, I got an Xbox One X, I got a PS4 Pro. Well, which ecosystem do you like the most? What do you want? Do you like the power? Do you want something that gives you higher frame rates? Or are you just looking at the price?
Let me ask you guys a question.
That's what you really want.
Spawn and Forte, let me ask you guys a question since you guys are giving me, I love the crossfire here. What I'm saying is this. What's stopping Sony next June at 2021? They're not going to go to E3, but whatever they're going to do for a state of play when they have their PS5 version of a Lockhart. They're going to do it too.
Doesn't matter. You can't be wondering what someone else is doing.
They're going to do it too.
From now.
They're going to do it too.
Microsoft can't worry about what they're doing a year from now.
Yo, Mooch, it sounds like all you want Xbox to do is to cower in a corner and just completely follow everything I
want them to be the best they can be. And I think offering a Lockhart is literally just like what we said. It's catering to a
lower price point. Everybody pointed out in 2013. That was the reason why everybody picked up a PS4.
But hear me out. If that's the only thing you want to do, then just continue the X and keep that at $199 and just do the same. Spawn said it.
Why would
he goes, Mooch, you can play Game Pass, but I can play Game Pass on my X.
They're going to eventually get rid of that because it doesn't have an SSD. So eventually they're going to want to phase that out. But keep in mind, the Lockhart is rumored not to have a disk drive.
Yeah.
Right. And go ahead.
What's real funny about this conversation that we had? I remember having this same argument with you guys about a month and a half ago when I kept saying that Lockhart shouldn't even exist because they already got an X, and everybody on here was like, "Oh, they need the Lockhart. The X got that weak Jaguar CPU in it, and that's not a real true upgrade." And I was like, "Well, everybody has an X. Why won't y'all just let that be the baseline system?" And everybody was poo-pooing over that. Now all y'all saying is, well, this and that. Well, why would I want to get a Lockhart? I'm like, dude, the Lockhart is a means to an end for them to basically sandwich the PlayStation 5 in the middle. They're saying we're going to have something for the hardcore at the high end and something for everybody else on the other end. And the first thing we kept saying, as soon as Sony said we're not going to E3, Microsoft needs to throw everything at them this year so they can get a lead, because we ultimately know what's going to happen once PlayStation catches footing. They're just available in too many territories. So it's a good thing to actually get all of your systems out now while people are looking at it saying, hey, I can get a new Xbox at this price, get into the new ecosystem, because guess what? All those people that buy Xboxes are more than likely going to buy a PlayStation like they did this generation. So you might as well get those people now before you never get them at all. And that's why I don't think they can afford to wait to bring out the lower end system, because if PlayStation comes into next gen cheaper, it's going to be a wrap at the very beginning, no matter how powerful the Series X is.
I mean, go ahead, man.
Okay, I was going to say a little bit further back on the which one should we get? All right, now I got two analogies. When you go to buy a car, do you not research what kind of car you're going to get?
Facts!
Between, if I want to get a Ford or a Nissan or a Tesla. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know what you're talking about before you go into it. And obviously the salesman or lady is going to tell you their spiel on, selling you the car. But are you not going to ask about this? And if you're going to a used car, you got all these different varieties. So now let's move away from that. Let's go to the other thing. You're going to buy your kid because they're going to school and they need a laptop. Do you need touch screen? Do you need this? Do you need that? So you go to Hewlett Packard? Do you go to Dell?
Yeah, but Dredd, you gotta understand that you're talking about everything in the essence that you are you're an
everyone does that.
Yeah, you know how many people I bought that, and I know that I'm like, hey, that's a great TV. What does it put out? They're like, I don't know.
You gotta remember,
you understand, like people don't.
People don't
you
even
guys
research
are so
cars,
focused
dude.
because we're hardcore. Like like nobody knows. Like not everybody's Marissa Tomei when it comes to going to buy a car from my cousin Vinny.
Posi traction.
They don't know posi traction and tap dead center. Okay, of an engine. They don't know this stuff. People go there and you go,
if you're
hey,
in the north,
dude, that's a cool car you got there. That's a cool car you got there. How many miles does it get? They go, I don't know. It's decent.
Great point, Dredd.
Mooch. My wife, we were looking at minivans. Like she wasn't researching. Like she didn't know where to go or what questions to ask. She just, I'll just go to the dealer and just figure it out. Like, I mean, there's people like that. Like,
not you guys are assuming everybody's watching Mooch and Enrique and Spawn, and like they're not. That's they're not watching.
I don't understand. I don't understand the confusion here. Like,
and there are people that will actually research. So
wait, that's. The systems are confusing because we get iPhones and Samsung Galaxy. We get some of the craziest names for these phones, and we just say it's a Galaxy phone. It's an iPhone. As long as it's just really Microsoft just needs to make sure the Xbox brand is well represented. Is all it is.
Well, there you go, Spawn. So the wording is actually going to be odd. So you're going to have the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series another alphabet, right?
Well, I mean, how many SKUs are in the store right now?
Right, S, X,
are we sure there's 3? Because there's also 1 terabyte.
There's
1 terabyte.
There's like 9 SKUs.
The hybrid. Oh, the hybrid's been eliminated, but yeah,
you had all the different. The Minecraft version.
Do you want the NBA 2K, the Star Wars bundle, the Division bundle, the Fallout?
When you get into the bundles, those are all still the same console.
I mean, I was just at Best Buy. There's 3 different PS5 or PS4 SKUs. There's a bunch of Xbox ones, including the they still had the one that didn't even have the disc drive, the SAD. They still had that there.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff going on over on those systems, so it already is kind of confusing if you want to come at it from that angle.
But when it comes down to it, Spawn, think about it though. What you just said, I think that's a great example. So Xbox has all these SKUs. They're going to add another 2 SKUs if your logic is right. And you have Sony that's going to add 1 more SKU. And you wonder why they're winning in these stores and in these battles. And some of it is just easy. Like, what do the hardcore always say? It's the games. It's the this. It's that. Okay, great. But then there's some people that are just like, I just went in and bought whatever. And that's what me and Enrique were saying. There's times you go into your friend's house and you're like, that is an unbelievable TV. What's this thing putting out? Is that 120 frames? The newest? I don't know.
Well, that's what you're going to run into now. This generation was kind of a snowball effect because a lot of people got a PS4, and then when it was time for their friend to get a PS4 to play Call of Duty, they got a PS4. So I think Microsoft's strategy is show up with the cheaper system as well. Yeah. So their friends get it. And then when their friends goes and get it at Christmas time, they get it on the Xbox because that's where their friend is. The problem they want to do their own snowball.
Spawn, I said this about a year and a half ago. I said, when you talk about like historic wars and people, when we were all back in high school and college, and they say this is the one battle that this country should not or should have won. And this, of all the years, of all the generations, this was the worst one for Xbox to lose. Because the thing that I'm going to conflict with your last sentence was that basically now what you said earlier on, if you go back to 2013, 2014, when all the friends said, hey, I'm getting a PS4 for Call of Duty or for Madden or whatever, and everybody went and got that, those games, those accessories, they all travel with them now, where before it was a dead stop. So when you said, well, now people are going to go out and grab a Series X, are they? Because they're going to go get the natural progression and get a PS5 and bring all their games and accessories and PSVR and everything they bought. It goes with them. And that's going to be a hard thing for Microsoft to get people to change over.
Just real quick, Mooch, like you're saying, this is the first time this is really being implemented full force. So you don't really know exactly what's going to happen with that. Now, I do believe that
everybody on this panel, though, Xbox spends a lot of time watching this. Like, we kind of do know.
Well, I'll tell you
anyway. I'm on them, but anyway, no. But what I'm saying here is, of course, there are going to be people that would be like, "Well, damn, I spent money for this. I'm gonna, bring my library with me." But I think the question is, how many?
Correct.
over 100 million
Correct.
or so on the PS4. Like, how many are really going to think about that, or how many people are going to be like, you know what? I played God of War 3 times. I beat it 3 times. I'm pretty much good with that. All set.
Okay, so going back to that conversation again, the biggest thing that people don't realize, going back to this, we went over this conversation a while ago. Going back to what I was saying about this whole, you're right. This is the generation you don't want to lose because this is when digital became the most prominent across all these systems. But I still harken back to the 360 days when it was 86 to 82 million systems sold. Right now, we're looking at 106 to roughly 50 million.
Right.
There's a 20 million gap between what PlayStation did and what Xbox did. So I'm looking at it. It's a lot of people that bought PlayStations this generation that had no reason to buy an Xbox. There was a lot, like, I didn't know anybody in my personal life that didn't own both systems.
So now you're telling me the 106 that bought roughly, even
there's about 20
right?
million people out there that did not buy both systems this generation.
I think PC gaming also has
and that has helped a lot too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just think that I'm not saying that you're going to get the whole pie back, but there's about a good, if you're saying 20 to 30 million people that didn't buy an Xbox this generation, at least 10 million of those people were PlayStation fans that just never had a reason to buy an Xbox. And that's the part I'll give, you know what? Have to get back.
And Spawn, you'll like this. I'll give Switch a little credit, because if we're talking about the 360 PS3 era, let's be honest, even though the Wii was an absolute success, there's a lot of hardcore gamers that would never catch themselves dead playing those games that were on there. They didn't care for them. So the Switch now has third-party support and Nintendo's first party. So I think between PC and Switch, there's your 20 million. And
yeah, a lot of PC gamers are really getting into the Switch. So yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick, I want to shout out to Gotham Guy, who says, I'm all in favor of 2 SKU attack. However, I do wish Microsoft will keep the disk drive for the Lockhart. There are people who want to upgrade to a newer and faster system, but still want to play their physical games they own. I agree with Gotham Guy 110%. And Element Appeal, thank you so much. I know he's had a busy night, and he said he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it, and he's been here for at least 75 to 80%. He says a lot of gamers that jumped ship to Sony still have Xbox gamer tags, right? It's easy to bounce back to Xbox if it's better next gen. Hashtag facts. And you know what? I got to say one thing, though. What Elemental PO saying and what Forte's saying, I'm with you guys. You guys have no idea how much I'm with you. And a lot of people are saying, Mooch, I am, by the way, somebody said I am not trolling on my own channel. My point, right? That'd be ridiculous. Right? I'm just bringing up counterpoints, because the idea here is that this is a unique situation for all of us. I don't care how in depth into the industry you are. This is a situation where this is not a stopgap. This is not going to be a generation that starts next generation that says, oh, we're going to do remasters and remakes like this generation started. No, we are going to continue forward because of x86 architecture, etc. So what people have invested in, 106 million people in air quotes, those people are not necessarily going to just jump ship. And if they would have, they might have done it already, because Game Pass is already in existence. Game Pass already has great games in it.
Sony might be starting the PlayStation 5 with a remaster, brother.
That is true. He's talking about
Demon Souls.
Demon Souls, yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past PlayStation to come out with like a bunch of remasters, beginning of the generation.
That's true, Xbot. I can't really argue with you there. Spawn, I think you were going to say something earlier, and I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, no, they just need to make good games.
That's what it is.
That's literally it. Just make good games.
It really is.
Give people a reason to come to the system.
Dread, what's your opinion on this? I haven't heard Dread. Dread, what's your take? End of the story here. Next generation, Xbox is just going to reclaim that 20, 30 million that Forte maybe claims is out there.
Well, every champion has to fall, and every time you fall, you get back up, and you're better than you were before, right?
Agreed.
You train, you learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
So for them to do the same thing. Nintendo did the same thing with the Wii U. They learned that they screwed up. I mean, it was a great idea, and you can see how the transition from console to handheld console went. You're also looking at Switch is not competing with itself now. It is both consoles in one, because you had the Wii U versus the 2DS/3DS. So you had the two different within the company. You had two different SKUs going on, or not SKUs, but variations of gaming. Now they're putting it into one. Okay, you still have your PlayStation 2 going on for over 10 years. You know, they stopped supporting it in 2013, which was also when the PlayStation 3 was going. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. Kind of lost track of where I was going with this.
Happens.
But,
happens when we
happens, brother.
Happens when we cross that 2-hour mark.
I was listening to everybody else going, and I had everything in my head. So.
I heard you trying to chime in, so I was like, I want to get Dredd in here before we.
Dude, if I had $1 for every time that happened to me on a podcast, I'd be able to buy Xbox right now, the entire division, man.
But like I said, they all have to do better. They all have to prove their worth to us, and for us to move on to the next.
Agreed. I want to see Sony increase on the multiplayer side of things, to be really honest with you.
And that's something that they're lacking. That's where they need to do better also.
Well, here's a question for everybody, and I'll pose it to the panel real quick. Daryl Satterfield says, I know we all appreciate power. However, if the Lockhart console looks better, cooler than the Series X, and the differences aren't visually noticeable, will you guys buy the Series X, Lockhart, or both?
I don't know how it wouldn't be visually noticeable if everything that's being stated
there's going to be visual differences.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think everybody on the panel here is pretty much hardcore. So when it comes down to that, I think we're gonna get the better of the two when it comes down to it. And if it's like $200 more, I don't see anybody on the panel kind of struggling with that decision.
I have a hard time. I have a hard time with anybody that I'm in discussion with on a day-to-day basis over the past 4 or 5 years of doing this, to see anybody that would get the lock. I could see where you get the Lockhart in addition to, but not in lieu of. I mean, Spawn, do you see where I'm coming from? How could you honestly walk in if one is $5.99 and one's $3.99, and considering the amount of gaming we all do? Spawn, would you say that you would you ever, in lieu of the Series X, pick up the Lockhart?
Me, I wouldn't buy it, not for me, but if I was a sales associate and a mom came in looking for a budget Christmas, so they could get games, then I would tell her to buy it. I think that's where most of the purchases are going to come from anyway.
Yeah,
right.
That's how I look. That's how I look at the situation. Me personally, if there's no way I'm walking out with a Lockhart.
If I have to pull up my phone, go to a Digital Foundry video and start pointing out differences to the person in the store, to show this is why you should get this one, I've already lost them.
Yeah.
So I learned that very quickly when I was trying to sell systems back in the the they were like,
I remember when GameStop wanted us to do that.
It plays the same games, right? Yeah. I'll just take the cheaper one. That is how the conversation went every time.
It's the whole you can take a good look at a T-bone kind of mentality.
I will say they would also ask how much longer is this system going to be viable? Things like not that degree, but they'd say, is this the old system? Is this new one? So if they were asking about the S versus the X versus the series and all of that, I would probably say, this one probably has at least another year left in it. And they probably would get the Lockhart instead then.
Hey, Mooch,
yes.
It's funny. I'm reading stuff in the live chat, and this conversation about Xbox. Will Xbox get players back? People think Game Pass will do it. It's not that simple. It's never that simple
thank you.
because they'll have Game Pass. Here's the thing that I've learned over my 38 years of gaming. In those 38 years of gaming, 25 years have been gaming on PlayStation hardware. Mm-hmm. The one constant that's been consistent with the industry in terms of the market leader, it's pretty much been Sony. Even at their worst, when they told us to get a second job,
right?
And they released like a $600 console, even at their worst, they still almost have sold now, and in part because they have a strong global brand. They came close to selling as many consoles as the Xbox 360.
Yeah, but Nintendo blew everybody away that generation.
Well, yeah, But my point is that's at the
There's no but to that. Like people toss that to the side all the time.
I'm not tossing it to the side. I'm making a point about Sony and Sony's dominance in the industry over the last 25 years. I'm not, tossing the fact that the Wii U. Look, the Wii U hit 100 million.
Just regular Wii.
Or the Wii. I'm sorry, the Wii hit 100 million. 100 something million. But a lot of those people that bought the Wii U are never coming back. I mean, the Wii was just this rare phenomena. I mean, I used to go to bars and I would see like happy hour Wii nights, and I was there. Enrique was at that happy hour Wii night playing the Wii bowling.
People were playing it, and what happened there? Nintendo grabbed the casual market,
But that market's not coming back. Like that group that bought the Wii, like a lot of those people never came back to the industry.
Ubisoft still releases Just Dance for them.
Sure does.
Right, exactly. But
it's the only game they released brand new.
But
I get what you're saying.
My point is with Sony, and I see people talking about this, like, they've been doing this. This isn't their first pony show, if you know what I mean, their first rodeo. I don't think it's as easy as, some people saying, oh, well, Game Pass will do it or this will do it. But I'll say this much, like, because I feel like some people think if you're not number one, you're not successful. No, I think all these three consoles and the pie is so big enough.
Yes,
I think that Microsoft could be in its own lane and still be successful. I think Nintendo could be in its own lane and still be successful. I think Sony could be in its own lane and still be successful. I don't think that if you're not number one, it means you're not successful. I don't believe that at all, because it all really comes down to profits. And if these companies are making profits, they're successful.
And that's why
I think that was a very valid point.
Look, just don't mess up Halo, okay? That's all I ask.
Well, I wish you said that 30 minutes ago because you would have got
Keep
Xbox.
The Spartan abilities, people.
Oh gosh, when's Halo 3 coming to PC?
Guys, honestly, it has been an outstanding show. We are well over the 2-hour mark. I've promised these fine gentlemen on the panel that they can return to their families and also their gaming life. Guys, outstanding show. I mean, thank you guys. I can't thank everybody enough. The panel, the chat, all of you guys, the Mooch Maniacs that are here. I can't thank you guys enough. Let me go in reverse order here and say just a huge thank you to Spawnwave for being here. Spawn, I hope you enjoyed your time here. Like I said, I called it Crossfire and not Kumbaya for a reason.
That was fun. I
enjoy banter. I like great decisions on both sides of the coin, and you really fit in perfect here, Spawn. I enjoy your work. Let people know where they can find you, and hopefully you'll join us again real soon.
Sure. You can find me at Spawnwave on YouTube. I do the morning news because it's not on TV anymore. So you can come by there and see it at 8 a.m. Eastern every weekday morning.
Awesome. Spawn, you're as reliable as any other news source. You are always there. I check you out every morning. It's crazy. So thank you for what you do, buddy. You're consistent, and that's a lot more than you could say for even myself included. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And then I've got our buddy here, Dreadpool. Dread, honestly, great insight. Always love having you on the show. Let people know where they can find you. And, buddy, hope you'll be on again real soon.
Oh, thank you. I had a great time tonight with everybody and everybody in the chat. You'll find me on Twitter as Dreadpool, and the O's are actually zeros. And then all caps on YouTube, Mixer, Gamertag, Stadia, and Twitch. It's Dreadpool.
If you guys didn't hear that, he's also on Stadia. Just want to let everybody know that he's out there. By the way, Dreadpool, get ready for a lot of hate mail. That being said,
he's on Stadia, right? I'm sorry.
Spawnwave's going to send flowers and a Dolan's card.
About if I'm trying it out.
Flowers on that grade.
He's not defending it like the Holy Wars, so he's probably not going to get.
Listen, I'm not defending. I'm just saying competition's a good thing. All right, that being said, Gaming Forte always got his ear to the ground for you folks. Gaming Forte, awesome to have you on the show, buddy. Let people know where they can find you, please.
Yo, Gaming Forte on Twitter and Gaming Forte on YouTube. I'm dropping a few videos over the next couple of days, so check those out. And once again, Spawnwave, thanks for joining us, man. Always good to see another fellow YouTuber in here that we never get a chance to hang it with. So really enjoyed your insight. Other than that, you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, Forte. I appreciate that. And then I've got Enrique, who stayed sober for me, not for you. Enrique, thank you so much, buddy. Always good to have not just your insight on things, but you've had such an experience over your life, and now you've actually transferred from console to PC. And you know what? Hearing your dynamic and the things that have changed, very interesting, and you add to the show so much. Let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here tonight.
No, absolutely, my pleasure. And it's great topics, great panel tonight, and Spawnwave, great meeting you on Crossfire this evening. And I just want to say something real quick, guys. I'm not an alcoholic. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, first of all, that's just an inside joke on the show. He is not. This will be our. It'll be the last sober joke for you, Enrique. I promise.
I got to put that out because people are like, because now I go to like podcasts now. And people are like, oh, is Enrique drunk?
Yeah,
no, I'm not. Like,
people keep writing me. They're like, if it's drunk Enrique, that's cool. And I'm like, what's going on? What happened?
No, I get it in other podcasts that I've been on. Like, I see the live chat. I'm like, okay, guys, it was one time.
It was one time. It was happy hour.
Yeah, it was happy hour. It was one time. But anyhow, you can find me, Gaming Forte, Slow-Mo Backslap, Eric Jackson, and B-Money 101. And Mooch is going to be joining us next week on the Brat Podcast every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you again, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome, Enrique. Thank you. And Xbot 448, who holds that green flag, and I love that he's here. Xbot, you have a huge show tomorrow. Let people know about it, please.
Oh, definitely huge, man. We are starting season 3 of the next podcast, and who better to start it with us than special guest Wilmy Hood will be with us tomorrow. Of course, that is 7 p.m. on my channel, and my channel's name, of course, is Xbot448. Yo, huge shout out to Obi in the chat who said, Gaming Forte, chew sunflower shells, and he spits out the seeds. That is right, brother. Great show as always. It was awesome talking to you, Spawnwave. I think you might have gotten a new subscriber tonight. I'm definitely going to check out your channel and see what you got going over there. But well, I am a little forgetful sometimes, but
why won't you just type in Spawnwave in YouTube right now and hit the button?
Spawn, I'll do that right now for you, brother.
God, why do I have to babysit you, sir? Go do what you're supposed to do.
He isn't subscribed to me either, so I'm saying, I'm saying, man.
Well, you never know.
Forte might is either, by the way. But anyway,
actually, I am.
Okay. Thanks for the support, brother. Can we end the show now?
Yeah. Before you embarrass yourself any further. Are you following me?
I've heard you say, man.
You guys are great.
On YouTube, matter of fact, now that I think about it,
this panel is absolutely perfect. That's all I'm gonna say. Outstanding group. And let me do a quick shout out, real quick. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you. I want to do a quick shout out to Xbox Freak, who's here, and he's always been a Mooch Maniac since day one. And let me tell you something. If you don't understand when I say I'm old school, I'm old school. So this shout out to Xbox Freak. Thanks for being here since day one, buddy. I appreciate it. Your opinions are always welcome, and I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep it coming, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Spawnwave, right on top of the search.
Right?
Very first name, man.
He knows what he was doing when he made the
that's
channel.
Why I told you exactly what to put in, sir.
You're still
not hard, though.
You're still the fraud, Forte.
Shout out to Lady Foxfire, too, and everybody here. Guys, we'll be back next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll have another couple special guests on, and I want to say thank you to everybody. Please do tweet it out. Let everybody know. If you do want to help the channel, hit the little join button above the description. It helps the Mooch out. Why not? We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, and good night.
What?